irrational decision-making became too intense. That's why we're calling it the politics of fear. My guests are with me here in studio already. Honorable Beatrice Elachi, Member of Parliament for Dagoretti North, thank you for making time. Honorable Mark Nyamita is here, Member of Parliament for Uriri, thank you for making time. Honorable Joe Nyutu, the Senator for Moranga, is here, thank you for making time. We had invited Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, the Deputy Party Leader for Jubilee, has sent in his apologies. He won't be joining us this morning. He will come in next time, but I'd like to hear from you, Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Citizen Daybreak. And let's start off with you, Nyamita. You're the first one to come in here on the standard headline. Is this a fair analysis of what transpired? That during the crisis, they say that the Deputy President, Professor Kithure Kindiki, was not there, but we saw the CSS, Davis Chirichiri, CSS, Opio and I having conversations in the CBD, trying to ensure that the fuel crisis is resolved. But even then, what really is the solution out of this fuel pricing crisis?
Thank you, Trevor, and thank you for hosting me this morning. You know, my little knowledge about management is that there must be room for escalation. Typically, in good management practice is that when you're sitting at a higher position, don't indulge yourself from the onset when an issue or a crisis emerges. So I think that on day one, we saw that I think even before the strike, there was an attempt by the Ministry of Energy to try and resolve this on their own. And the Ministry of Transport also had separate meetings with the stakeholders to try and resolve the challenge that we had. Then on the day when the crisis began, the two ministries now came together to try and resolve this issue. And of course, you saw there was not an agreement on the first day. Then on the second day, now I think the CS for Interior, because we were also having security matters. You know, people had lost property, we had a few people who were mugged, and we had seen a lot of lawlessness on day one. So the CS for Interior then came in. So I actually think that the fact that you did not see the Deputy President chair that particular meeting is because the people who were already seized of the matter were competent enough at that particular level. And true to it, the second day, they were able to come to a solution. By midday, the stakeholders had already called in, you know, had seized, had said that called off the strike and said, you know, let's resume as we give time for negotiation. So within this particular period, I am sure that the people who are from the government side were consulting, I'm sure, including with the head of state, even remotely from wherever he is, that these are the challenges that we are facing and things like that. So sometimes when you are a leader, you don't pop up as a first port of call when there is a crisis. You first begin with your team. Then your team, if they are unable to do it, then it is when it's escalated to you. So I think that I don't see anything wrong with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Elachi, they say there's a deputy in name. Is that a fair assessment, or is this, should he have taken a more central role when it comes to dealing with this crisis? Or is this just plain politics?
Well, thank you, Trevor. For me, I find it very interesting, let me say that. Because when we passed this constitution, our purpose that time, and I believe is still, was to reduce power where just a few are the ones who can manage a nation. And that's why we have CSs in their sectors. And for me, indeed, I would want to see, first of all, the technical teams are the ones who, because whether the Deputy President comes there, he will still wait for the technical team to bring him a report. So him is just reading this report. So I don't think that is what Kenyans want. I think Kenyans want, who are these in the team that can give us a solution? Not about where is the Deputy President. No. I would rather see somebody else telling me fuel is going down, and not just someone else. Those who are now the users, us, yes. But we have the companies that deal with this. We have EPRA. That is the institution that should be answering us all these questions. They should even tell us whether G2G works at the moment. Is it okay? Or is it a risk? Because it's the only one. And in a scenario where we don't know when the Americans are going to clear this war with Iran, I believe it's important to bring in other companies to do this. I mean, include others, because the risks are now very high. So the Gulf team cannot just tell us they're the ones who are going to handle Kenya in a crisis where we know in the same Gulf we are having crisis. So open up so that we reduce the risks on ourselves. And also we are able to now question many other players. You see, now we have faced the government. Why? Because they are the only players at the moment who bring in fuel. Yeah.
Okay.
So reduce your risk also as government for us questioning you.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll delve deeper into the possible solutions of dealing with this fuel pricing crisis. But Honorable John Nyutu, thanks for making time now. Is he deliberately being locked out of the center of power, or is this an unfair assessment of the role that he should have played?
Thank you, Trevor. I think I hold a different view from my colleagues here. Because Kenya, as we know it, under President Ruto, there has not been any autonomy of the CSs. So when my colleagues, try to argue that such a thing should have been dealt with, of course, technically, because they are those that are charged with the responsibility of dealing with this matter. But this is not what we have been saying in the past. We have seen the president involve himself, the president, not even the deputy president, involve himself in actually leading some even, very small things. This is an issue of national importance, Trevor. I mean, there was a crisis on Monday. There was basically the nation had come to a standstill. So you cannot tell us that the deputy president, was waiting for the CSs to deal with this matter because we know what they have been doing. The president has actually gone as low as traveling to counties to issue Nyota funds that are delivered, electronically. You cannot tell us, nobody can tell us, convince us. Kenyans are smarter. You cannot convince Kenyans that, the president can go issuing Nyota funds. The president can be the marketer-in-chief of SHA, because that is what he was when SHA was introduced. That the president can be the marketer-in-chief of the new higher education funding model. But his deputy is too senior to deal with matters of a national crisis, and that is the fuel crisis and the attendant strike that happened on Monday and parts of Tuesday. I mean, there is something that we are not being told. And Trevor, I can tell you what the possible reason is why the deputy president did not get involved in this particular matter and left the CSs to deal with it. It is because the president has been accused of being a player in the oil industry. And he has not come out to deny. Even his supporters, his apologists like Murkomen, have not come out to deny that the president, through the G2G arrangement, him and Gulf Energy are involved, and they are, they are beneficiaries of the profit that we have. And that is why, Trevor, the deputy president did not want to appear there, because he would not have wanted to contradict his boss. So, contrary to what my colleagues are telling you, that, people need to be given an opportunity to work so that there is, there is still another space for escalation if they are not able to do it. Nothing can be further from the truth. The deputy president did not want to get involved because he knows that his boss is in the middle of this particular crisis. Because if he weren't, we know how President Ruto behaves. Even from wherever he is, Azerbaijan, he would have actually even addressed the nation from there. But because there is direct involvement of him, that is why he has not spoken. That is why the deputy president could not, have, appeared in the whole of this thing. Remember, when Honorable Elachi said says that organizations like EPRA should deal with it. Yes, it is true, but we cannot forget that the last time EPRA, the PS for petroleum, and I think the CEO of KPC, when they tried to sort out this problem, because remember there was that consignment of fuel that had been delivered, they were actually fired and even locked up in a police station. So the thing is, people are not autonomous. Organizations are not autonomous. And so, yes, ideally they are the ones that are supposed to deal with this matter. But then because of the involvement of the president, nobody wants to touch it.
Which are pure allegations, because yes, you say he hasn't come out to deny it, but there's been no direct link. This is a conversation that only you politicians keep having, but there's no direct link of the president involved in this G2G. Nobody even knows the details of it.
You know, Trevor, sometimes what we do not say speaks louder than what we say sometimes. I mean, for example, why has EPRA not given the formula that it uses? Why has the G2G arrangement not been made, the particulars of this particular arrangement? Why have they not been made public? Whom is it that imports this fuel? Which companies are involved? So in this, Trevor, you read more from what is not said than what is being said. And so, we know President Ruto, Trevor. If you say something that affects him or that touches on him, he will respond immediately. He has not responded. And so we know why he has not responded is because, of course, there is that involvement. And he should come out clean and say what exactly is this arrangement between this G2G arrangement. Why, why do we even have a crisis, Trevor? And I think we are going to come to that. Why do we even have a crisis of this magnitude? Of course, we know there is war in Iran, but do we really get our petroleum products from Iran? I mean, those are questions that need to be answered.
Mark, is this a delegation of duties or absconding duty?
You know, Trevor, my good brother here must differentiate when you're driving policy and when you're handling management on a day-to-day basis. The president of the nation is a vision carrier of his plan, which, by the way, was developed by his party, UDA. So when you're in a vision carrier, even of an organization, including like Royal Media, that we want to reach the length and breadth of the nation, the MD is the one to communicate the vision, that this is exactly what I want to do. So when you're driving big policy things that are actually part of your manifesto, the person who is carrying the vision, who is the president, who has now been elected, it is his responsibility to tell the nation that the reason why we want to move from NHIF to SHA, this is what we want to do. So you expect him to start it at his level. When he wants to talk about Nyota funds, for example, I don't know why this Nyota thing has been a big thorn in the flesh for my good brothers, that the president went around launching it. It is his vision that he wants to engage the youth. And that was a platform for him to do it. But because our leaders have taken that, anything to do with the youth is something that is secondary, they do not believe that a leader at a higher office moves out to actually lead it from the front. So when you must differentiate, when you are introducing a major shift in your own administration, the vision carrier must lead from the front, and the rest of the people in his administration follow through. There is that difference, and when there is a problem, now it comes from bottom up, because this is a problem in energy. There could be something else in health. Can you imagine if someone at the top, because even as we speak, let me tell you, there are small challenges that are still happening across. I mean, there are contractors who have not reported to site, maybe, in the Ministry of Roads. Do you expect the Deputy President to have actually gone, or the President to go and say, I want to do this? Even as we speak, some farmers maybe have not received fertilizer, but it has to be handled at a particular level. So, when now on a day-to-day management, once you have led the policy shift, which is what the president has done, now when a crisis of this magnitude, you expect, and that's why you have able ministers. So the question is, why look at the people who are involved in trying to resolve this matter? We're the CS Treasury. Because, this is a matter that are evolving, let's reduce here and cut there. He has to say, okay, this is how much we can actually go. The Minister for Finance was involved. Minister of Transport, because he's in charge of the transport and the road sector. We had protests all over, people could not move goods and services. He was there. The CS for Energy, directly responsible for this thing, was also there, including with EPRA officials. And for the information of my good friend, the formula for pricing of fuel is actually on the EPRA website. You can actually consult it and check on it there. They cannot keep on publishing it. It's actually there. And he sits in Parliament. If he wants that EPRA actually comes and explains maybe their pricing formula, they can be able to do it. But having said that, we are not trying to belittle the crisis that we had for fuel. The pricing for fuel is at an all-time high. For example, I'm a consumer. Most of my vehicles are diesel propelled. The pricing is high. 240 shillings is not a small amount of money. The difference in what I have been spending, even me, is actually high. And the danger sometimes with fuel is that, when the pricing goes higher and the transport sector increases their cost of transport, the pricing of goods will automatically go higher. Even if the interventions later on, the reduction in pricing, even when the fuel prices eventually come down, is never equal. And we have seen this. For example, if the transport guys increase from 100 to 200 shillings today, and tomorrow we go back to the default, it will be very difficult for the transport guys to come from that 200 to 100 shillings.
Yeah.
So this is a really big issue. And I want to thank the stakeholders that they have given chance to dialogue. Within these 7 days that they've actually given, we are sure that we hope that something is actually going to happen. But the good news is that also next week, on Tuesday, Parliament also resumes. As parliamentarians, now I think the ball is also in our court to try and go and see what exactly is it that we can do.
Okay.
This issue of taxes that are there and things like that, it is the responsibility of Parliament to actually go and check. I saw the CS for Treasury trying to explain that if we remove, for example, the 8% VAT, he will be struggling to implement the budget.
Yeah.
The challenge that now we're going to have in Parliament is to say, okay, let's remove the 8%. What is the impact? It will mean if we were doing 100 loads, let's do maybe 50. Then the decision we will make and say, okay, can we stop the roads maybe for a period of time and be able to do this? That now is a discussion that now can actually come to
the floor.
Yes.
Okay. I have to take a quick commercial break. When I come back, I'll come back with you on the Elachi. And we're still talking about this politics of fuel. So that's the entire the conversation we're having, including the political part of it. There's an illusion that there seems to be a center of power that is not with the Deputy President. We'll talk about that as well in just a short while. We'd like to hear from you as well. At Trevor Mbidi at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Citizen Daybreak. We're back in just a short while.
Tuma direct from Bagna Pesa Link. Below 1K, free. Kibandas kichai na chapo, so moja free. Dawa kwa pharmacy, so tattoo free. Kinyazi French feed, punch free. Ukivuka tao, saloza askari, 30K, 20 bob. School fees, 50K, 20 bob. Hardware, 200K, 20 bob. Gari kwa ya, 700K, bado 20 bob. Tuma direct, build a story more. Free up to 1K, 20 bob. Below a million, Tuma direct from Bagna Pesa Link.
Kupata wimbo wangu wa Luanda kama sikiza tuni yako, bonyeza *811 *343 #. Kumbuka, sikiza na Citizen ndo nyumbani kwa wasanii wote.
Our bodies get serums and washes, but underarms only get Deodorant? That's why our new breakthrough formula has pure hyaluron and vitamin C to deeply care for your underarms for soft and even skin tone in 2 weeks. With 72-hour sweat and odor protection, try the new Nivea Derma Control range because your underarms deserve more. Nivea is for skin.
Every Saturday at 7:45 p.m.
Chirunido Suru, 9 cents. You tend county, then you get to get belly.
Boni chulo gima boni dwaro. Ogimoro mrodi tijwa kata gima nyuolwa dwaro.
Maua ma plastic atero kali.
Chiengwa chadieri oken chieng dhao. Ng'anyo chakre kiny.
Ang'o marach ga kodi mama?
Pamela, abiro arrange for everything. Abiro chulo gimoro mora medwaro.
Peso bondo, en piwang jolupo inam kai.
Pesa en pesa utien.
Jochiende modonjo nyathina, jochiende kwelo, achiko were mi Yesu.
Kabisa. En kalemo mar okombe kose mar glasi.
Every Saturday at 7:45 p.m.
Look, I know no amount of words or apologies will make up for what I did, but I promise you I regret it every day.
Hiyo ni shida yako.
Please, son.
I am not your son.
Tukiwa pamoja, hakuna kinachoshindikana.
Tuko imara pamoja.
Family Bank.
Family Bank. With you for life.
All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. The State of the Nation is with my guests are with me already here in studio. Honorable Beatrice Elachi is here, Member of Parliament for Dagoretti North. Honorable Mark Nyamita, Member of Parliament for Uriri. Honorable Joe Nyutu, Senator for Moranga. We had invited Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, Deputy Party Leader Jubilee, but he sent in his apologies. He won't be joining us this morning. We're talking about the politics of fuel. We'd like to hear from you. Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Citizen Daybreak. Elachi, let me come back to you on this. Now, next week when you resume Parliament, there's a proposal by Ndindi Nyoro Kiaru, Member of Parliament. I'll just read two of the proposals to manage the pricing of fuel. The first proposal is seeking to reduce the road maintenance levy fund charge by 7 shillings per litre through revocation of the 2024 levy order that increased the charge from 18 to 25. The second proposal seeks to amend the VAT Act by removing petroleum products from taxable supplies and classifying them as VAT exempt, effectively reducing VAT on fuel from the current 8% to 0. He says this will reduce the price of diesel to about 54 shillings. As you talk about this issue around the Deputy President and whether he should have taken center stage or not, is that a proposal that could help, and will you review that objectively without the politics of it all?
Well, I think we will have many proposals on the table. I appreciate what Ndindi is saying, but I also find it, I mean, why is it that if I'm given an opportunity to work for a country, for my country, I will not just do the right thing? When he was the budget chair, didn't we ask him those questions? Can he go back and look at what ODM pushed for at that time? So why now? You wait until we get into crisis is when you come. It's okay, you come. We don't want to play politics on it. But it's a question he should ask himself. God had given him an opportunity to be our budget chair at a time where you must stand firm without playing politics also at that time. We would not have gone even into G2G. We had refused because we told them at that time, can you show us? This is a product that fluctuates globally. How is this G2G going to help us? They said it will. Oh, it will be a shilling to a shilling. But look at how it's fluctuating. So that's why some of us get very disappointed. So for me, in Parliament, we have to look at it, but you can't tell me we'll go zero. No. We can look at all the taxes that we have at the moment and ask ourselves, and sit down with technical teams to assist so that also, I mean, even them, they want to come in 2027. Will you find a country going down? See, they are the ones who said that they found their former regime had left them with I don't know how much.
Empty coffers.
Empty coffers. So they want to find the same. I thought they had learned a lesson that now going forward, you will never want to find your country in that situation. So for me, the most important thing, you want to run Kenya, please don't play politics with it. Please come with solutions that are clear. Not of playing politics that we have a war. This war we've had since 2013. We came in 2017. Look at the war we had. The same team has put us here. And that's why today we always tell them, you must get into the consequences, learn, so that in future, in the new dawn of Kenya, ever play with Kenya again. Yes.
Is the deputy president being deliberately locked out of the center of power, like his own standard?
So what is the center of power in our constitution? Now that's politics we want to play with our deputy president, because our constitution is very clear. In fact, our constitution even went on and said our CSS must be technical people, not politicians. So now these technical people seems to not also understand you have to blend it with politics so that you manage. So you can't tell me now you need the deputy president so that you throw words on each other. As we don't have that time. Did they see how Kenya did? Does it ring a bell, by the way? It has to ring a bell and awaken our minds that it is not right what we are doing. Okay. For me, what Kenyans just want, they don't even want to know who owns this matatu. First of all, this sector is a sector that runs transportation for our country. They have done it with all the challenges they have faced. And I remember, and if you know you can bring back this sector and bring back even fuel to the right, remember the Mishuki days. He never played with the country, and we worked for 3 months, and we realigned ourselves to what we want.
Okay.
And I want to tell the sector also, realign yourselves properly in a manner that also respect the clienteles that you have. Because there are some things also in the sector that needs to be dealt with, but in a conversation, not in fighting, not in making them go through a lot of harsh and crises that are not good. But at the same time, we must realign our transport sector without playing politics, without fearing. Okay. Even our borders, realign. Allow ourselves to have some order in it. But to bring in the deputy president so that we play politics, so that you face each other, opposition with the government. Yeah. No, not on fuel.
Okay.
Fuel, let us deal with it. For me, I just want to tell them, I still stand firm that government must now get out of this G2G Gulf thing and allow other players in it. You want to play in it? Fine. But allow other players to now bring us fuel so that we don't come here to discuss something that we have no other person to compare with.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a challenge. Open the market.
All right.
Open the market.
I'd like to hear what Joe Newton thinks about this statement from the Deputy President, Professor Kithure Kindiki, who said that we need to find a balance. We're now looking for solutions of dealing with these rising fuel prices. Let's listen to what the Deputy President had to say in terms of where do you draw the balance? Listen.
Hao wananchi ambao tunapunguzia kodi ndio wananchi wanataka barabara ijengwe. Ni kweli si kweli? Wale wananchi tunapunguzia kodi ndio wanataka tuongezewe stima, tujengewe soko. Mumesema hii barabara ni muhimu. Hii barabara inajengwa na kodi yetu kama wa Kenya. Kwa hivyo lazima we strike a balance between the need for us to manage the cost of living, but also the need for us to fund infrastructure and other economic enablers that make our country grow. Hii barabara inajengwa na kodi yenu. Lakini vile vile nimesema tutahakisha kwamba mahali tunahitajika kufanya jambo kupunguzia mwananchi mzigo, tutafanya hivi. Kama hatukutoa hiyo 13 billion, kama hatukuweza kupunguza hiyo VAT, hiyo mafuta karibu ifike shilingi 300.
Joe, your reaction to what he's saying?
Thank you, but Trevor, allow me to just say something that my brother said. He said that when you're driving policy and you're the vision bearer, then you have to go and communicate it. And I want to agree with him on that. But then you communicate it at the level that you should communicate. I don't think the CEO here will go out there communicating policy. He will come and communicate the policy and the dream that he has with those that are supposed to then to actually action whatever it is that is policy. So Mark cannot defend President Ruto's, lackluster, travel around the country talking about simple things that should be done actually by directors of ministries, not even PSCs. He says that when you are the vision carrier, then you explain this particular policy. Yes, you explain, but you do not go marketing it. They are marketers. They are those that are supposed to do that. And if, if it was very important that President Ruto markets the policy about SHA and, of course, a new funding model, then why is he not telling us what his policy on fuel, which is a national crisis now, is? So, I mean, let Mark not contradict himself by his arguments. And he asks why we have a problem with Nyota. The problem that we have with Nyota was about the president, of course, gobbling huge amounts of money in his travel to counties for a job that could be done by junior officers in the ministry and not him. So the problem, we have no problem with our youth getting empowered, because that is what we wanted our youths to believe. But we have a problem with the president spending huge amounts of money in an ailing economy to go and deliver funds that are delivered electronically, and a job that can be done by very junior clerks in the ministries, in the relevant ministries. He says that the formula used by EPRA is on the website. And I want to ask Mark when he comes back to tell us what formula was used on Tuesday. Was it on Monday, to reduce the price of diesel by about 10 shillings per litre, and the same formula, but to explain to us that formula that also raised kerosene by about over 30 shillings per litre, and he has said that it is a responsibility of Parliament to look at taxes if they have a problem with taxes, and I agree with him. But then the question is, why hasn't, with this national crisis, why hasn't Parliament been recalled? The National Assembly basically deals with all these money bills. Why have they not been recalled when there is such an important matter to be deliberated on by the National Assembly, while the same National Assembly, led by Speaker Wetangula, could call a sitting on Friday to approve the new president after the new deputy president, after Rigathi Gachagua was impeached at around midnight. There was a special sitting the following morning at 9. So is Mark trying to tell us that the issue of, approving a new deputy president is so important, or was so important, than the issue that Kenyans are facing now of a crisis in fuel? So let us not, mislead Kenyans. If this is done by the National Assembly, which is true, it should have been recalled at the earliest possible opportunity. But because the government, because the one who leads Parliament, the National Assembly, that is Speaker Wetangula, is not concerned about the plight of Kenyans, but is more concerned with pleasing President Ruto, he cannot recall Parliament to discuss this. But of course, like I told you, because this is a very sensitive matter, because it is touching on the personal interests, commercial interests of President Ruto himself. And so I want to talk about, Honorable Elachi has said that, when you talk about the recommendations or the suggestions that the Honorable Ndindi Nyoro has given, that he has asked, why did Ndindi Nyoro not deal with this when he was budget chair? And did he look at what ODM was proposing that time? My question to Honorable Elachi is, what is ODM that was talking about this that time? What is it saying now? What is it saying now? Because we didn't have a crisis then. We have a crisis now. So if ODM had very progressive ideas then, what are the ideas now? Are they giving any ideas? And she went on to say that we are the people who supported these kind of arrangements, and that is why we should suffer the consequences in order for us to learn. I want to tell Elachi, Honorable Elachi, not to tell her, to remind her, it is not only those that supported Kenya Kwanza that are suffering. Everybody is suffering. And so you cannot sit somewhere and say, you know, we are happy when those who supported the UDA and Kenya Kwanza are suffering now because they are going to learn. Come on, every Kenyan is suffering from the mismanagement of the economy, Trevor. And I agree with Honorable Elachi, and for this I would even pat her back if she was a man. But now I don't have that latitude, because being a lady, then of course I can be accused of other things. But it is time, I agree totally with Honorable Elachi. It's time we got out of G to G so that we get our fuel from the best and the cheapest supplier. It is time, because we should not tie ourselves with this thing. Now to your question of the remarks by the Deputy President Kithure Kindiki that we should have a balance because Kenyans need services. I agree with him partly, but then you have to think more broadly, Trevor. When it is true that if we follow Ndindi Nyoro's suggestion that we do away with the 8% VAT that is still remaining on oil. Of course, we know that it was at 16%, reduced to 8%, and now Ndindi Nyoro is proposing that we do away with the 8%. It is true that government is going to lose revenue. But then, Trevor, we have to think broadly and ask ourselves, when the price of fuel, petroleum products is that high, it is limiting Kenyans, or it is raiding the profits that Kenyans are making in businesses. And government would make even more. I may not have the figures, but maybe government would even make more by the taxes that they would collect from business people who are doing better than what they would lose through scrapping the remaining 8%. So I think we need to think more broadly and ask ourselves, what is the impact of these high prices of petroleum products on the productivity and profitability of businesses and operations in Kenya? And what would government make from taxes on the said profits? And then we do a comparative analysis. The Deputy President sits at a very high office. He cannot just go out there and tell Kenyans, you need services and what have you. He should tell us what comparative analysis has been made and how then he thinks that, why then he thinks that we should not scrap the 8%. Otherwise, going back to the first question, now you wonder, where was he, by the way, when there was a crisis on Monday? Now yesterday he appears out there on top of a vehicle saying how we need taxes in order for services to continue. Those are the questions. So you are available when there is no crisis, talking out there, and you are not available to sit and maybe guide, deliberations in an important meeting, and you leave Dennis Itumbi, a blogger, to lead the negotiations. It's funny. We are living in a funny country. Where's this miserable
that he was leading the discussion?
I would want to see it, by the way.
Sorry? CSs were there. Why is Dennis Itumbi being accused of leading that discussion? Yet he happened to be there, but the CSs were there. Wandai was there. Chirchir was there. Ibra Mohammed was there. Dagar was the PS.
Yes.
IPRA officials were there. Why?
Yes. I think I would answer that question.
He was the one leading.
I would answer that question also by asking, what was Dennis Itumbi doing in such a high-level meeting? But the meeting was false. And Trevor.
That one as a source.
And Trevor.
Everyone was.
Trevor, that report is even there on the Standard. You are a journalist. Journalists should actually have investigated this and reported to us. But Dennis Itumbi was in that particular meeting.
He was.
And what you need to ask yourself, what was he doing there? And he's the one who communicates, if you want to know what President Ruto thinks, just talk to Dennis Itumbi, just talk to Faruk Kibet, just to talk to Oscar Sudi. And that is why our country is faring the way it is doing, because we have no room for experts. We have no room for people that have been charged with the responsibility. We want people who will sing praises to the president to go and lead deliberations. And that's why we are not getting solutions.
The experts also there. Mark, this is what I'm trying to struggle with. That is this genuine concern or just politics? So now, from what the Deputy President has said, are these reactions and the proposals from Ndindi Nyoro solid enough? And how do you balance between the need for taxes and the need to cushion Kenyans from the rising cost of living?
Trevor, before maybe I respond on the issue of the proposals, I just wanted to, because I need to help my good friend here. I'll take him again back to management classes 101 about communication of policy. That number one, even now, and I want him to check, the big banks are releasing their end of year results. The CEO of those banks will be explaining themselves to the public and their clients and their stakeholders what their plans are for the next financial year. They speak to it. It's not that they will go back to the office and they sit with them and tell them this year, next year, this is what it is. The vision carrier, who is the CEO of the organization, now is going to communicate. Like, for example, KCB released the results yesterday. The CEO, Paul Russo, will say, in the next financial year, this is what we are foreseeing. We're going to do this for the SME sector. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We want to reduce, all that. Safaricom would launch the financial end-of-year financial results. The CEO will communicate the vision for the next financial year to the public. Then he will come down and work it within his management. So when the president leads, he speaks about the vision of the nation. That my plan is this and that. And when he speaks about on this matter of fuel, this government spoke about G2G, which was cushioning Kenyans, trying to negotiate a better rate. And maybe it has worked until now. Okay? That was his plan. He communicated it. If it is facing challenges because, of different other factors and things like that, the people now within the team now are actually dealing with it. Number two, my good friend has said, why has the speaker not recalled parliament? Yeah. Again, I want to ask my good friend to read the standing orders. The speaker does not recall parliament.
Never.
The speaker does not recall parliament. He only does so on a request by either the leader of majority or minority. I want to challenge him that we have not seen. Even I saw Ndindi Nyoro writing to the speaker. That is not the procedure. You write to the leader of majority or minority, who now petitions the speaker. So even him himself who sits in the Senate, even and his side, we have not seen them petition. But having said that, Parliament is resuming next week on Tuesday. We will convene from next week. When we resume, we can be able to actually take it up. And when he says that, why did Parliament, was it recalled to approve a deputy president? My good friend, the deputy president's office cannot be vacant for a minute. Because if anything happens to the president, then we will be in a bigger crisis. So that is something that cannot happen. In fact, we could have even sat on a Sunday to be able to do it. And when we had a rogue deputy president, it was a national duty. It was a much bigger crisis. Who was dividing the nation that we had to come and sort it out. And that's why we extended the sitting to that particular point. So when you say that, why did we have to recall for a deputy to confirm a deputy president? That is a serious issue. We cannot be, for a single minute, be without a deputy president or a president. And that's why when you look at the Constitution, Trevor, even the transition, the president will be the president until he's handing over. Until that ceremonial sword is passed over. There is no gap in between. There is no vacuum in that particular whatever. But now talking about the issue of the proposals. Some of the proposals are actually very good, by the way. Number one, providing subsidy. I'm sure the government can raise some money, about 5 billion maybe from the money they have, which is a levy they have within the petroleum, whatever they charge, so they can raise 5 billion. Even from whatever 5 billion they can raise as a subsidy. That's a good proposal. Profit margins. I mean, this crisis is affecting everyone. If the people within the value chain are making between about 17 to 18 shillings a litre of fuel, I think it only makes sense because this is a short-term sort of a thing. We can speak to them and tell them in the intervening period, let's reduce your profit margin from your 17 to 10 shillings. I think that's not a very bad idea. Reduction of the road maintenance levy, we will need to strike a balance.
Yeah.
And this is a balance. We all know that the additional 7 shillings has been securitized.
Yes.
That securitization, what has it done? It has enabled contractors to go back on the roads. Those very roads are also helping the economy. Because if you don't have good roads, movement of goods and services from one point to the next, which is driving the economy, will also be affected. So the balance now, I think members of parliament will have to convince themselves, do we then stop? But again, it has already been securitized. So it's money that actually you've committed already. And the contractors are already on site. Maybe that will be a difficult thing. The issue on the 8% for VAT is a matter, again, we can consider on the floor of the House. But now we will need to ask ourselves, if you remove the VAT of 8%, what is the impact? And what is it likely to affect within the budget? And then members of parliament now, I mean, we need to forget about our political differences and think about the Kenyans for once, together. So the guys in the opposition, let me say all parliamentarians together, we now sit and say, okay, if we reduce, this is how it's going to impact. And it should be that if it is going to affect a project that is in my constituency, I should be bold enough and say, okay, fine. There was a water project, let me hold it on for another 6 months so that for the greater good. Okay. And the guy from Muranga should also be able to particularly do
sacrifice that.
Yeah, so I think that, you know, it should not just be, and I think I agree with what Beatrice was talking about, not that the proposals from Ndindi Nyoro are bad. The only problem that we need to call out is the hypocrisy of the gentleman. Okay? The proposals that he has given are good, and we will look at them on merit when we resume parliament and see where to actually place his proposals. And like Beatrice has said, many other proposals are going to come from different members. Maybe even us will also give up different proposals on the floor of the House. What we are calling out is a hypocrisy. The same people who, when there was a demonstration of a high cost of living, at some particular point, including the very Ndindi Nyoro, including my brother who is sitting here, and many others, called the other people economic saboteurs. That, oh, these people are destroying businesses. Oh, these people, you know, do not want the country to go on. These people do not. Today, we now know where the looters are coming from. Because they used to say that a particular community, because there's been a debate here about, I don't know, C.S. Murkomen having profiled a community. I don't think he did. He only spoke the truth. And that truth will be spoken whether they like it or not. Trevor, there was a time one particular community in this nation was called, hawa ni watu wa kungoa reli, hawa ni wale wanavunja maduka, these are economic saboteurs, or they are on strike because they don't run businesses in this town, or they do. Today, there was a lot of peace in the greater western region. This particular protest is affecting all of us. I mean, the issue of fuel is affecting all of us. But the protest was only happening in about 17 to 19 counties across. 29. And really now been a very big opener that truly we know where the looters are actually coming from. We know the economic saboteurs where they're coming from. So what we are saying, today, when there's an issue that is affecting all Kenyans, you shouldn't be able to say, today when they're being called out and told, okay, fine, why is it? Because even during the former president, there was a crisis of this magnitude. These very people said, no, these guys want to bring this thing down. I think that's what Murkomen was actually calling down. Why aren't we patient to understand that there's a challenge? And let's all sit together and say, how is it that we can improve the lives of Kenyans?
Wasn't the looting just done by goons and not specifically people?
Oh, but are they any different?
Why would you say that you know where
that particular time?
I mean, the looting happens because they are criminals, not necessarily from the same region.
And exactly, we held the same view when there were previous protests and we said they were being done by criminals. They said those are not criminals. They said those are the economic saboteurs from a particular community. One Ndindi Nyoro said so. In fact, very loudly. I remember in that particular sitting, and he was saying, the president today, wale wamegongwa kidogo walikuwa nasalimiwa tu. Kesho, we want them to be hit because of a particular community. He did say. He did not say. Our position was that if there was any looting during those particular protests in the past, it was an act of criminal gangs, it was an act of goons, but not a particular community.
Okay.
So the people who are profiling other communities should not feel the pain because now we are seeing it. But also when we are thinking about it,
because you already said that back then that's what the position you held, that it's being done by criminals. Is indeed the same position now?
So what we are saying, it's the same position, but we are saying the people who say that those criminals were from a particular community, today, now we have indicated that they are not from a particular community. It's an act of criminality in itself.
All right. Let me bring in Elachi. There was a direct question from Joe that ODM spoke about all this.
Yeah.
What are they saying now?
We are saying the same thing. I'm here saying the same thing. I'm ODM. Yes. Because this is what I always believe, Trevor, and that is why sometimes when we come to speak to Kenyans, we try our best not to bring in our political, because we just need to be objective for the country. And so for me, whether I'm ODM or not ODM or whether I'm what, I'll remain with what we believed in. That there's an ideology you must stand with, even when things are very tough. Even when the president, I know, will want this. But there's a time you tell him, no, this cannot work, Your Excellency. And just be firm. Yes. I know people say you'll go into consequences, or you'll be removed from committees. Fine, as we don't have committees. But we have survived. We are still there. We are doing our work. Because you're not just working for committees or for what? You're working for the nation, the good of this nation. And so when I spoke about, even when I was saying, as we move, I know when you look at the 1 week negotiations, definitely it's not going to work. Let's be very honest. What they just need to do is to extend so that they have very good recommendations for each other as they move. Remember, there is an owner of a matatu who his matatu or her matatu is also a loan. They need to pay. The triple effect that comes down, we have our makangas and many others who survive in this business on a daily to daily basis. So I would hope, and Sakaja did a very good job there. He was also there. Let them sit. And why is Sakaja there? Because this is Nairobi. This is where the biggest business of this transport also works, from going up country and all that. For somebody like, I don't know why we are having a problem with Itumbi. It was an open meeting where maybe he is a stakeholder, but he's also the communication person of the president. So he has to go there and pick issues that are raised and maybe also just lay them to the nation. I mean, so I don't want to bring those politics in. For someone to be there, we talk of public participation. He had gone also for public participation to listen, isn't it? Aren't we allowed? Yeah, and I don't think it was closed, that this is a meeting enclosed only for this. No, it was an open meeting for those who really wanted to go and listen and get answers, because everyone was questioning. Okay. And he's a leader. So let's not bring him. Government must strike a balance. Yeah. It will not solve our problem. Okay. Because remember, you have reduced the tax, yes, but then when you reduce it, where are you collecting it from? Okay. When people have, already you're having a challenge collecting even now. So even when you reduce, it is the same. Okay. So the government must just come in with a clear balance of saying, one, we will now have to rethink on this road maintenance and where we look for other revenues to do the roads. But then also to say that I said consequences, I'm still repeating. And I'm not saying to the people. I am saying for us leaders who go there to lie to the people that we can do this and this. So as leaders, we must learn through our consequences what we do wrong, not the people. So I want my senator not to to return it into a political... It is not a political contestation, no. It is, if you take the country next, see, they are looking for the country. What are you going to tell us? Do not repeat the mistakes that you have already done. Because it's the same team that did mistakes that now wants to come and tell us, you're going to organize the mistakes. How? You can't. You've been there for a while since we started this constitution. And now we are going 15 years. If it's a new team, new team. And I'm telling Kenyans, we must rethink. And don't look at 2027 alone. You must be thinking of your dawn of 2032. When we are finished with the new, with our 2030 vision, we should be thinking of 2063. What will we want to see Kenya at that time? We will not be there, but there are people who will be there. Our children will be there. Any leader who comes here, Trevor, must be telling us how they would wish to see beyond. Not a contestation of a fight because we had battles of our things, so we are finishing everything in 2027. That is not Kenya.
Is there a need to replace all the leaders?
You see, you want to replace? Replace. We will be replaced anyway at one time. By 2032, all of us speaking honestly, we will have new leaders. But what country are they finding? In a nation where we are very high on technology, where will we be? In a nation where we will have to ask ourselves, do we know how to get into this with our young people, taking over into a civil service that has been very bureaucratic, yet for them, they believe you can do things in a quick way and it works for them. Are you ready for that? Is the army ready for that? All institutions, are you ready for this new dispensation that is about to come? But if we are coming here and playing our politics, tunataka kubishana hapa kwa sababu tuliwatana sijui kwa sababu ya hii na hii, that's not going to help Kenya.
Okay.
No.
All right. There's also something Dr. Fred Matiang'i said.
And then lastly,
yes,
the speaker, we should never, ever bring speaker in our politics here. You know why? He has nothing. In fact, he awaits you to bring. Even that time when we were recalled, who wrote the letter? It's good to bring it and say, there's the majority leader to request the speaker to call for a session for us to sit. So let's not bring our speakers, both from Senate and there are also people who play politics, I agree, but they don't play politics within the dispensation of parliament. They play it outside.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let me bring in what Dr. Fred Matiang'i said before I come to Joe. I know you have quite some reactions to both of them in a short while, but let's listen to what Dr. Fred Matiang'i had to say in regards to this same conversation we're having. Is the deputy party leader for Jubilee. Listen.
Whether you bribe leaders of the transport sector for a day or two to get out of the street, whether you intimidate them or whatever you do, the problem does not go away. We are a democracy. People have a right to express themselves how they please. But when people ask questions again and again of our government, it's only logical that that government at least pays attention to the questions and the issues that are being asked.
What are the solutions now, Joe?
Thank you, Trevor. And I forgot to tell you or to say that when Professor Kindiki talks of services, I mean, use there are many roads that are full of potholes, things that were not seen, for the last about 20 years. We have not seen those things. I mean, and that's why we have a road maintenance levy paid with every liter of petrol that you buy from the pump. And so I think I want to invite Professor Kindiki to, just that and many others, but that is what I've used this morning, and see the kind of potholes that are there. And then before you start telling us you are making roads using Kenyans' collections. This issue of Mark telling me that he's going to take me to Communication 101, when you go to the university, the units are 101, Communication 101. He insists that CEOs must communicate. And I don't think, although I'm not a communications expert, but I have not seen a management, whatever it is. Management. At least I've studied management. I'm a CPAK, by the way, so I studied a lot of management in that. And I also hold a master's in business administration, and I'm not boasting. I'm just telling Mark that these things are not very new to me. I just wanted to tell him I've not seen a CEO who communicates. He gave the example of, of a CEO in a bank when they announced the results, the annual results, or at the end of the year, the profit and what have you. I've not seen any CEO communicate that during that particular meeting of maybe shareholders. Then he goes to Murang'a, communicates the same. He goes to Mombasa, communicates the same. He goes to Kisumu, communicates the same. It is just one communication mark. The president did not have to go to Tana River, go to Meru, go to Kakamega to communicate about Nyota. Please, Mark, don't mislead Kenyans. This is not a CEO communicating. This is a CEO playing politics. Which is, by the way, this is a CEO who has never realized that he's president. He's still campaigning to be president. He forgets he's a president. And so, Mark, will not allow you to go away with that. The other thing that he misled Kenyans in is saying that the speaker is not the one who recalls the House. Just check when the House is recalled. Trevor. It is the speaker who puts a notice on the Kenya Gazette. It is true that this is from, a proposal from either the majority leader or the minority leader. And therein lies the problem with the party that Mark belongs to. Now, the majority leader and the minority leader both serve government. They are both apologists of President Ruto, who has been accused of having an interest in oil, commercial interests. So that is why both of them, none of them could then, propose to the Speaker of the National Assembly that he recalls the House, because both of them are serving on one side. Maybe Mark would help Kenyans by telling us why they are still holding the position of the minority while they are already in government. Because these are the problems. So why I believe the drafters of the Constitution wanted the minority side to check the majority side. So when the minority side then joins the majority side, then we have a particular vacuum that arises. And that is something that maybe he may do well to tell us. Mark has misled Kenyans. He says that recalling or calling for a special sitting of the National Assembly to approve the nomination of the new deputy president was so critical for Mark, more important than the fuel crisis that we have, because should the president, be incapacitated or dies, that is the Constitution, then the deputy president takes over. It's true. But Mark, the Constitution, I've just Googled here, the Constitution says that when there is a vacancy in the office of the deputy president, that there has to be a nomination within 14 days of a vacancy arising. The president must nominate a candidate to fill the position. So we had a constitutional leeway, and Mark should go and read this, because he keeps challenging me to read. And see, there was a leeway, a constitutional leeway of 14 days. So Mark, tell us why the hurry you had. And don't forget, Trevor, this particular sitting had been gazetted even before Rigathi Gachagua was impeached. It was not gazetted at night. It had already been gazetted, because they knew what they were going to do. Of course, they knew they had numbers. They knew ODM was on their side. So the other thing is that the National Assembly must vote on the nomination of the new deputy president within 60 days of receiving it. So Mark is misleading the country when he says that this matter was so urgent, so important than the fuel crisis, that it had to be done the following day. That is not the Constitution, and we have a responsibility, Trevor, of shedding light on to Kenyans so that they may not be misled by government apologists like Mark. And I want him in with the recommendations of Dede Nyoro, by by the way, it's important that we then tell Kenyans what we think about the fuel stabilization fund that we pay in every liter of petrol, again, that we buy. How much have we collected? Because it was there even last year but one. There were no crises that time. This crisis has come now. How much had we collected and how much have we expended, in seeing to it that we are able to see to it that Kenyans are not suffering to this particular extent. Trevor, you must allow me. You know what Murkomen said is something very sad. When Murkomen was senator, in fact, if there is anybody who motivated me to seek the office of senator, it was Honorable Murkomen. Because he was such a good debater. I don't know what has happened to Honorable Senator C.S. Murkomen. You cannot trivialize a national matter of the fuel crisis and start asking why didn't people demonstrate or strike when President Ruto, when Uhuru Kenyatta was president. I mean, it's not insinuating that people are striking because President Ruto belongs to the community that he belongs to. I mean, it's trivial, it's petty, it's laughable, it's lamentable. You cannot, this is a national crisis. And Mark is saying that there are truths that must be told. I don't know about a particular community that was doing this. And he has gone further to profile, the mountain and said that, the looting and what have happened on Monday was happening in the mountain and in Nairobi here. And anybody, any reasonable Kenyan would know whom, Mark was referring to. I put it to Mark that the looters that did this evil, in Murang'a in particular, which I represent, they were looters that were actually working for government to paint the image that Mark is bringing here, that now the problem of looting is in Mount Kenya, in Nairobi, and it is the Kikuyu doing it. Why do I say that, Trevor?
Just agree that it's...
Why do I say that, Trevor?
We agreed here that it's criminals who are doing the looting.
It's criminals.
Profile. Let's be very careful with
yes.
this.
No. He said
these are criminals. We even agreed himself.
That yes. At the tail end. At the tail end. But he said, if you remember, he said that there were people saying only a particular community were, uprooting the relay and that kind of thing.
Then we agree.
That is what I'm referring to. Yeah. These criminals, Trevor, it's true. These criminals, why are they being allowed by the police to perpetrate this, this crime?
Why? You are responsible leaders, so let's stick to the facts of this.
Fine.
If we go that direction, we'll be misleading.
Fine.
Criminals are the ones who are looting, they've been arrested, they've been taken care of. It's not a particular community. Let's make that clear from the onset.
Thank you.
Because we're heading into an electioneering period. Let's not.
Thank you, Trevor. I agree. I'm guided. Honorable Elachi says that, the old guard cannot provide solutions. The Honorable Elachi should first resign as Member of Parliament because she's an old guard. She was nominated senator in 2013. She became the Speaker of the County Assembly of Nairobi, I think, in 2017. She is now the Member of Parliament for Dagoretti North. Honorable Elachi, please, if you want to say that anybody who has been in Parliament then should not lead Kenya, please resign now so that we get a new member in Dagoretti North, so that because now anybody who has been there is not qualified to bring any change, then, if you have served 2 terms, or something like that, in the third term, then please give way, if that is the argument. Then she says that we should not bring the name of the Speaker of the National Assembly in our discussions here. Yes, but you see, See, we only, where I come from, we say, if you are constructing a house for you, we only use the posts that you have looked for yourself. I'm doing a direct translation. Yeah. The Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly. Remember, I've not talked about Speaker Kingi, the Speaker of the Senate. Yeah. He is always doing politics, telling us who will be elected and who will not be elected. He cannot then, having involved himself and gotten himself into the murky waters of politics, he cannot then extricate himself from this because he has opted to play politics. Okay. We will call him out for what he is. Right. He's playing politics, like UDA youth winger. About Matiang'i's comment.
Yeah, very brief.
No, he has to withdraw that.
Yes, about Matiang'i's comment. I agree with him that it is not, by the way, the crisis, the ones that are suffering the biggest biting of the crisis are not those representatives who agreed with government CSs. Yeah. It is Kenyans. Okay. So whether you compromise them or not, and I'm not accusing them of being compromised, I mean, we now have 5 days to see whether they meant what they said. Yeah. But if, what Honorable Matiang'i was saying is, if you compromise them, you will not compromise Kenyans because it's Kenyans who are suffering.
Okay, let me bring in some quick feedback before I give you a chance for closing remarks. Each, just about 2 minutes each, strictly 2 minutes as we wind up on this conversation on your closing remarks. Frank Korinde says government must stop blaming economic problems on the Middle East war. We were already struggling with high taxes, expensive fuel, unemployment, high cost of living before the conflict. Global events matter, yes, but failed policies, wastage at home cannot be ignored. Okay. See what else you're saying, Ru. MC Ruma says the same MPs crying over fuel prices are the ones who passed the punitive fuel taxes. Spare us the hypocrisy. Parliament has become a rubber stamp for the executive instead of defending Kenyans. Wanatetea tu matumbo yao. Lower fuel prices now. Okay. Sir Nixon says, Trevor, 3 unfortunate things happened after the strike. 1, paraffin price was increased by 38.6, hurting users all the more. 2, the government gained 28.60, and 3, we got absolutely nothing out of it, but a great loss. Sad. Sam Masika says, Kindiki knows that legitimacy and power comes from the people. If you are appointed, you serve at the behest of the appointing authority. Was the office delegated to him when his boss went for the tour? Okay. Engineer Lazaro says, Trevor, the problem we have in Kenya is too much politicking than offering solutions. In a mature democracy, opposition is a shadow government with the power to correct the ruling regime amicably with the decorum, not persistent blame game. Okay? Mark, closing remarks. You ran out of time. Just a quick one. I wanted to say that the opposition must accept that there are other people who will not agree with them. So not everyone who disagrees with them has been bribed. That is number 1. Number 2, he agrees with me that the Speaker does not recall. Speaker communicates the recall of Parliament. I just want to help my good brother so that he can be a good student. Number 2, also on the issue of management, I just wanted to tell him, when you're running an organization, it's different from politics. The president has to go around the country talking to different people. The CEO of organization meets all his stakeholders in one particular meeting and he communicates and it goes all round. Number 3, we are in a parliamentary system. We're not in a, we are in a parliamentary system. So when you speak about that others people, there is no government in parliament. There is absolutely no government in parliament. Yeah. So when you're talking about minority, the parties in the opposition are not even what we call parliamentary parties. They cannot, they do not have the numbers to be able to form a minority in itself. So we are in a parliamentary democracy. So what it is that there must be a majority and a minority. There is no government. Both ODM and even UDA, including you are not in government even by the time you are elected. Your party might have produced a presidential candidate, but when in parliament, parliament must check the executive collectively. Okay. And that is actually my challenge to him. This VAT on fuel that Honorable Nyutu is crying loudest about here, he was at the forefront, or his party at that particular point, when they were increasing the taxes around this particular fuel. Okay. Having said that, I think that because we have a crisis at hand, Trevor, all of us, in a bipartisan approach, whereby we can all put our political differences aside, let's go back to Parliament next week. Yeah.
let's look at what is it that we can do to intervene.
Okay.
Because we cannot say, reduce levy. I have had him counting roads here that he asks the deputy president to go and whatever. Then the deputy president does not have money from his pocket to go and fix those roads. It has to be from taxes. So when we go back, we sit together, our political differences aside, let's think about the Kenyan, and let's see how we can bring the cost of living to a manageable levels. Thank you.
I think the most important thing is just what Nyamita has said. And I think for me, the most critical part of all this is how do we go back to Parliament, Trevor? Look at first the finance bill that has come in. Ask ourselves now where we give and take on that finance bill as you get the answers. And that's why I was saying it must be a long-term solution that goes beyond, so that we don't bring a short-term and then we come into the finance, then we start. Why can't we just look? We are now in budget processing, finalizing. We have to do it the right way and clear all the things, because it will affect fuel, it will affect the levy road, it will affect agriculture. It's an effect on many other things. So we have to look at it very comprehensively and get a good solution to Kenyans. And if we tell Kenyans we are looking at it to get a solution, they will give us time, they will understand. And that is what we need to do. But then, as I said, and I want to repeat, and I want to tell Senator, when I say something, don't be a Kenyan, don't relook at it immediately. Think through, what have I said? That's what a good leader does. You listen and think through. I have said, and I want to repeat, we have a nation of our young people that are going to take over the nation, whether we like it or not. And I've told him very well, this fight of 2027 is not helping Kenya, because at 2032, it will take over and it will have to move. And many of us speaking will be gone. We'll have done our term, and you have to either move, go and become president. But in this other technical and all the things we are doing now, they will have to take over. So that is what I mean, and I mean now. So when you say, oh, go live here, I have told you, think 2063. Please be a visionary leader, just the way Kibaki was. He thought 2032, and we are here.
2 minutes
Few to come.
All right.
So as we finalize, I want to plead also with the whole transport sector. Let us sit down, get a better solution.
All right.
You gave in 1 week. I am pleading that let us not make 1 week and then find ourselves in another crisis. Have sittings, and I'm hoping they are having sittings that can proceed and make things work better for Kenyans.
Okay. Senator.
Thank you, Trevor. In conclusion, I want to tell Mark that he says he wants to help me understand some of these things. I want to tell him that I do not need his help. Unfortunately, you can go look for somebody who needs his help. And he knows even in Parliament, if you seek to inform a member who is on the floor, the member has to be asked whether they want to be informed by the member seeking to inform you. And you have a right as a member of the floor to accept, information or not. And so I want to say that I refuse to be helped by Mark because he's a government apologist, the government that is hurting Kenyans. So I don't think I would appreciate help from Mark. He says there is no government in Parliament, and it is true, there is no government in Parliament, but there is minority and majority. In fact, I had not talked about government. I did not say about the opposition or anything. Of course, I know, I understand. I may be a new legislator, but I understand these things. I'm a fast learner, Mark. And so I had talked about minority and majority, and I said that both the majority and minority leaders are reading from the same script because they are government apologists. And there is something that we call the spirit of the Constitution, or the spirit of anything. I mean, the spirit was that the minority especially checks government, even as majority checks government, because it's the responsibility of every other member of Parliament to of course, oversight government, but the minority, the spirit was the minority checks government more than the majority, because the majority mostly will be from the government side. And he tells me that my challenge to Professor Kindiki to use, Riverside Drive, that I should know that he doesn't derive money from his pocket. And exactly, yes, when I said it, it's because he had said taxes need to be collected in order for them to be able to sort out the problems that Kenyans have. have. But I want to tell Mark that we are in the year 2025-2026, whose budget has already been approved by Parliament. So the matter of that road should have been, catered for by the funds that were approved. And finally, I want to tell Murkomen and Hassan Omar, because they have made some very derogatory, remarks about the community that I come from, that Trevor, Hassan Omar should know that President Kenyatta 1, President Kenyatta 2, President Kibaki were elected by Kenyans to hold the offices that they did hold. And that we have no apologies to make to Hassan Omar or Kipchumba Murkomen for being Kikuyu.
All right, we'll have both of them to come and respond to you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for making time. Honorable Beatrice Elachi, Member of Parliament, Dagoretti North, Honorable Mark Nyamita, Member of Parliament, Uriri, Honorable Joe Newtu, Senator from Oranga. Thank you for speaking to us on the State of the Nation. That wraps it up for today. Thanks for watching.
That's a good idea. Hey there and welcome to Fanya Mambo Africa here at the Alpha House. Super excited to be coming to you live today from Wamunyoro, the residence. And of course, on this, we are collaborating. We are not alone. I have none other than the Mraia himself.
Mwafrika, ekonana.
Bas. And with us, obviously, being in Wamunyoro, you know what we have. Mwafrika, introduce our guests.
Yeah, so vile unacheki, leo tuko na Rigiji, tuko na Rigathi Gachagua. And vile su anzaga jo, eko nene?
Iko nene?
Yeah.
Iko nene?
So yeah, I'm hoping we can have a conversation on various things.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I have to, first of all, congratulate you. Like, you have a very beautiful home.
Well,
yeah.
This is my safe haven, my rural home. I was born and brought up here. The air is fresh. You are next to the Mount Kenya forest. The mountain is just, you have a beautiful view from here.
Yeah.
Good people around me here. This is where I find my sanity. Anytime I come here, I don't want to go away.
Yeah.
I dread going back to the capital city.
Yes.
I want to stay here because it's quiet, it's nice, people are nice, it's friendly, fresh air.
Yeah.
So welcome to Wamunyoro, and I hope you enjoy your stay here.
When you say you grew up here, what do you mean? Like this is your family's farm or just the area itself?
This is my farm bequeathed to me by my late parents. My parents had two farms, one 7 kilometers away from here, and this one here. So in their old age, they were very organized people. They gave two brothers here, myself and the lead Dr. Wachira. We were given 6 acres here, 3 acres each.
Yes.
And the other farm were given to my other two brothers. So we came here in 1972 when I was 7 years old.
Okay.
I've been here all my life. This is where I belong. And when my days come, I'll be buried here.
Very interesting. Okay, so it's good that you've told us this is where you were brought up and where you grew. Just to understand your journey into politics to becoming the DCP party leader today. Did it start here or what was that journey like?
Well, my family, the late Nahashon Gachagua and the late Mother Kirigo, were politicians in their own right. They were leaders in their own right. They took part in the Mau Mau liberation struggle, fighting for our land and freedom. So I am the child of my father and my father. We are basically freedom fighters. We are leaders. And we have grown in a political family. And my late brother, the late Gachagua, was a member of parliament for this constituency called Mathera. He later became the governor of Nyeri before he passed on. I started here as MP for Mathera. I later became the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. Today, I'm the DCP leader and the next president of the Republic of Kenya next year.
Okay. So I have to I have to go back to the family thing. So you grew up with like a family of four brothers, or you have a sister?
No, we had a great family. My father was polygamous. His first wife, the late Nyagodi, had 4 kids. My mother had 9 kids.
Okay.
I'm the 8th born in a family of 9.
Okay.
So we were 13. We have lost many of us, quite a number. From my family, my mother's family, we've lost the late Dr. Wachira and Ririani, and we are remaining myself from the sons.
Yes.
And 5 daughters.
Okay.
The other family, 2 are dead, 2 are surviving. So we are there, and we thank God for long life. And we love one another. We are a great family. We are very united and very cohesive.
So when you talk of them being politicians and them being involved in the struggle, like, could you maybe elaborate on that? Because this is to connect with your start as a DO, started out as a DO. So what's the connection?
Well, when I came from the University of Nairobi, in 1988, I was a student of political science. I sought for a job. Those days it was good. It's not like now. Once you got admission to the university, your life was sorted.
Yes.
Indeed, I remember once our mother educated you up to Form 6 and you passed, you'll never see her again. The next time you saw her, she was asking for money because it was automatic.
Yeah.
In fact, employers would come to the university to recruit people into employment. So when I left the university in 1988, because I had studied political science and I had a political mind, I sought for a job as a district officer. That is public administration. And I went to the Public Service Commission and I got the job. And I went to the Kenya Institute of Administration, KIA, which today is called the Kenya School of Government. That's where I did my induction. And I started my job as a young officer at the Ministry of Home Affairs as an assistant secretary to the late Davidson Koguru, who was the Minister for Home Affairs. Later on, I was posted as a district officer to Kirinyaga, Kishogo. I stayed there for several years. Later on, I was recalled to the office of the president. I became a personal assistant to the head of public service, secretary to the cabinet, Professor Philip Mbithi, who had served as vice chancellor when I was a student at the university. I worked with him until 1993. I went back to the field. I served in Kiambu. I served in Laikipia. I served in Garissa. I served in Turkana. I served in all manner of places. And years later, I became a personal assistant to President Uhuru Kenyatta when he was the Minister for Local Government and Kanu presidential candidate. And I worked under President Uhuru Kenyatta. And when we lost the elections in 2003, I continued serving him until the year 2006. That is when I requested him that I would like to go to business. I went to business from the year 2006, but I continued helping him through until he became president in 2013. I never went back to government. I stayed as a businessman until 2017, when my late brother Gachagua passed on in February 24th, 2017, the people of this area, because they loved his leadership. And I was part of his campaign, and his leadership improved upon me to contest the Mathira parliamentary seat, which I did at a Jubilee ticket and won. Handsomely, I got 54,000 votes against 28,000. And I went to Parliament for 5 years. There in Parliament, I started working with William Ruto. We developed a good rapport. I helped him the campaign until we won. And he picked me as his running mate, and the people here, accepted. They gave us a vote, and I became deputy president. I served for 2 years. We fell out. And he got MPs and senators and coerced them and intimidated them, bribed them to throw me out of office. They did. I left gracefully. I came here and dusted myself and woke up and started reorganizing my politics and my leadership. I founded the DCP party, which I'm leading today, and is a vehicle through which I want to seek the presidency.
Okay. Before, you've mentioned your fallout with President Ruto. of course, many people have never known exactly what happened. Would you want to tell us what caused the fallout?
Yeah. The two of us are totally different. I'm a very truthful man. I'm a very honest man. And I thought he was like me. And I must say, he's a very good actor. He deceived me and deceived all of us. And we thought he's a great Christian. He would be in church every Sunday. He would quote the Bible. He would talk to us with a lot of, conviction. And I swallowed a bit, and I believed he was the best man for the job. But once we got to the office, he came out as in true colors, as a dictator, as a businessman, as a ruthless politician, as a man who cannot keep his word, too many promises, too many lies. And we started having differences, quite big, because I am not that way. And the people I had persuaded to vote for him started asking me very serious questions, and I couldn't have answers. So I started disagreeing with him on many things within government. With a lot of respect, I would go to him and say, boss, this is not right. Evictions and demolitions. When we were campaigning, we told our people there will be no evictions and demolitions. And if they have to happen, they have to be human. And we have to know where somebody will move before you remove him from where he or she stays. We agreed there will be no night demolitions. And these things started happening, and I had a big problem. Along the way, we abandoned what we had promised the people. We had come in with a promise of the bottom-up economic transformation, lifting people from bottom to up. But as soon as we got into office, we started overtaxing people. We started using taxes on luxury, on things that are not necessary, and the people started to cry. And because I'm somebody who listens to people, they would come to me, I would go to him, and he would dismiss me with contempt. And we couldn't have a good working rapport. But our real issues came during the finance bill of 2024.
Before we reach there, could I ask you one thing? I covered the elections just before 2022.
Yes.
And I remember one of the videos that I did, because I always do reaction videos, was a reaction video of no Rigathi, no Ruto. And from that, what I got from that video was, you are not his first choice for DP, Deputy President. The first choice was Kindiki. And apart from that, I remember, I think it was last week, Moses Kuria was on KTN and he said the same thing, that you are not his Ruto's first choice. Ruto was arm-twisted into it. And with that, the relationship started on shaky ground, because he felt like at that moment he needed you, because he needed the mountain. But you see, you are not his first choice.
No, it's true.
So, yeah. So,
looking back, I think so. One thing is that he had promised the running mate position to so many people. He's a very deceptive character, just like he has done today. Today he has promised Kindiki, he has promised Joho, he has promised Wanga, he has promised GK Karaoke, he has promised more than 10 characters. Even that time he had promised so many people. And he had promised me. He had promised Kindiki, he had promised Anne Waiguru, he had promised Alice Wahome, he had promised Dende Nyoro, he had promised Justin Muturi, he had promised Musalia, he had promised Wetangula. And he was just playing around with us. I don't think I was his first choice. But I think, being a very pragmatic politician and practical, he looked at the whole configuration, and he was very clear in his mind that if he picked Diki, he would have lost the election. So it was convenient to pick Rigathi Gachagua and dump him later. In fact, I think the decision to remove me was made even before I was picked. I am totally convinced today that I was just a lander.
And you didn't see it coming?
I didn't see it coming. I'm a very honest person. And I'm a person who believes and trusts other people. Because myself, I'm very trusting and I'm a very dependable character. So I really felt we were together. But looking back, I can see that he didn't want me. He wanted a Rigathi running mate and a Kindiki deputy president. A Rigathi deputy president is not good for him because Rigathi has a mind. And he's a very principled character. And I'm also a strong man like him. And I don't think he wanted that. So during that time, we had that issue. I went and said that he told me to get prepared and got his communication person, Hussein Mohammed, to help me to draft acceptance speech. And he asked me to come with my wife.
That's what I'm asking. Don't you feel like he felt untwisted? Because I remember that time when we were covering it, everything was pointing at Kindiki. And then even by the time you're being announced, it's like 2 a.m.
No, he knew what he needed.
It was like at 2 a.m. So he's no regarding no route of protests.
No, far from
must have pushed him.
Far from
protests.
Far from it. He knew what he wanted. He wanted the Regadi. He was just managing the others because he had promised everybody.
So the protests came from who? Him?
No, our people were protesting. But he had promised everybody. He was just managing the others. He had already called me and told me it's you. And asked his people to help me have an acceptance speech. Told me, come with your wife and your children. And I came in a suit. All the others did not come with suits because he had not told them. And then he pretended to consult everybody and kept it long so that all the people he had conned can feel that he has tried, but he has been twisted. But he knew, he was clear in his mind. He has done his arithmetic. He knew my persuasive power. He knew my mobilization skills. He knew I had the ear of the people, and he knew for him to get the mountain vote he needed regarding Gachagua. So he created an impasse, an artificial one, just to manage the other people. But he kept on telling me, don't worry, I'm managing it. Yeah, but we watch it too. Please give me time. He kept on doing that. My supporters were getting very wary, yeah, because they could see there is deception. But he was just managing the others. He had already made up his mind that the running mate would be Rigathi Gachagua for him to be president. Equally, looking back, he had decided he would either drop Rigathi Gachagua before 2027, just before, or in between. And I think what happened, his game was to drop Rigathi Gachagua during the second term. But halfway he realized Rigathi Gachagua had become very influential. And he realized that if he lets him stay, yeah, by 2027, it's not possible to drop him. But it is the exact opposite. My being removed have made me 20 times popular than I was. Today, I enjoy the kind of popularity any politician would love in his life, you know? And when he was removing from office, he was told by Ichongo and others, you remove this guy, crown ikitolewa ni mabati. This guy is only popular because he has a position. The people of the mountain are not interested in people. They are interested in positions. Once you get rid of him, that's it. 2-3 weeks, you'll never hear about him. But he didn't know the mountain because he's not one of us. And I told him, the people of the mountain hate betrayal. Betrayal has no remedy in the mountain. It's punished unapologetically. And even him, and he knows, he was a beneficiary of the community's distaste for betrayal. When the people of the mountain felt like Uhuru Kenyatta had betrayed him, they decided to punish Uhuru Kenyatta for betraying William Ruto and elect William Ruto as president. And I told him that time when we were just arguing, when I saw where he's going, I advised him, I said, my brother, I think you are making a mistake of your life. These mountain people hate betrayal. You are a beneficiary of the community's distaste for betrayal, and you are not one of them. They have punished one of their own to affirm you, and you are not one of their own. If you betray their own, and you are not one of their own, they will punish you 100 times. What I told him has come to pass. Today, I was seeing meetings in Thika. His allies would not speak. None. Not Ichungwa, not Alice Nganga, not Muratha. None could be allowed to say anything. And what he doesn't know, those people have nothing against Ichungwa. They have nothing against Alice Nganga, nothing against Muratha. They were sending a message to him. But because he's president and our people respect authority, they don't shout him down. They shout his allies down, but they are sending a message to him. We are through with you. You betrayed the mountain. Nobody betrays the mountain and gets away with it. Okay. So let me once more say, that that was his script. And I saw it later on when the first 1 year is when I started seeing signs that I had been betrayed, I was unwanted, and I would be shafted. But I put my foot down, I did what I needed to do. The rest is history.
So do you and the president hate each other?
I don't hate anybody myself, but I hate his actions. Abductions and extrajudicial killings, I hate because I'm a Christian. The 10 Commandments tells us, thou shalt not kill. I was very bitter with abductions and extrajudicial killings, and that is what made us disagree completely. And that is when he decided I must leave.
So
do you remember when when the finance bill came, I told him this thing is unacceptable, and the people of Kenya will not take it. And if you insist, there will be rejection, and we shall be left with an egg on our face. Please, don't force it. He decided to force it. When it was forced, people said no. And then the agencies came up with a protest. Then, in the National Security Council, a decision was made, and I sat there to clamp them down. And I said, no, I disagree with that decision. I said, let's listen to these young people. They have a point. And what they are saying is what the whole country is saying. He said, no. So, on June 25th, when the kids were massacred in Parliament, he called a press conference at night and said that these kids are criminals and they are treasoners, and he'll crush them. Still being in office, I went to Mombasa and called a counter press conference, and I told him off. I said, you can't kill these people. They have a right to say what they are saying, and these kids are not criminals. They are my sons and daughters. We should listen to them. That is what broke the camel's back. We never talked again. We would talk through SMS, through WhatsApp messages, because he felt it was total insubordination, and he felt I had ridiculed him publicly. But I needed to give my position to our young people and the Kenyan people that I was not part and parcel of abductions and killing children. I could not be party to it, and I had to disown it publicly, because if I didn't disown it publicly, today I will be carrying that burden. My hands will be full with blood of the agencies. I'm very happy that I was verdicted. I talked, everybody heard me. Today, nobody can blame me for those killings.
Okay, but I'd ask, like, when did you start becoming uncomfortable with the extrajudicial killings? Like, do you know a specific period?
Yeah. I think I think around April 2024.
Because the reason why I'm asking you that is Ruto's acceptance speech. He talked about extrajudicial
Yes, he
killings.
did.
And he talked about the extrajudicial killings under Uhuru.
He did.
So that means that these extrajudicial killings were happening. Remember? So he said that this new government is going to come and there's not going to be extrajudicial. Then in 2023, remember there were protests, mostly in Kisumu and what? There were a lot of extrajudicial killings. Those are the people who got compensation this week from the courts. So do you understand why when you say you are against extrajudicial killings, it does not make sense to the average Kenyan? Because we're like, that was happening. No. It did start in 2024.
William Ruto and I were on the same page initially. We had promised the people of Kenya that extrajudicial killings will be a thing of the past, and the use of the criminal justice system to settle politics will never happen. Yes. And that is why it was in his inauguration speech. We were on the same page. As soon as we got into office, I started seeing this bad habit creeping back. And I told him, respectively, in private, boss, these are the things we promised, and things are getting out of hand. Please, let us not go into that direction. He didn't listen. So as we went on in early 2024, I started getting reports and concerns that a special squad of 101 people had been formed for the purposes of abductions and extrajudicial killings. And I told him no. So one day, the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya then, the Honorable Justin Bidad Muturi, came to see me as Deputy President. William Ruto was out of town. And he told me, my brother, my own child has been abducted. I have tried to call the IG, he is taking me into circles. I have called the DCI, he is taking me around. I have talked to the PS Interior, he's just taking him into circles. I have talked to the Director General of National Intelligence Service, he's not telling me anything. I have talked to Kindiki, who is a CS Interior, he's just lying to me. I am very unhappy, and I've come to complain to you as Deputy President.
This is 2024, yes?
2024.
Yes, because the reason why I'm asking is 2023. In 2023, I don't know if you remember, but there was this even headline that Rigathi Gachagua is planning mayhem against protesters. That's Raila who said that. So this was around the 26th of March, 2023. There's a statement I remember you made where...
That was an accusation.
Do you expect... No, you asked, like, do you expect the police to kiss the protesters?
No.
Yeah?
That was an accusation.
But you understand what that means? It means that when you're in government, you didn't have a problem with... Because a lot of protesters were killed.
I had a big problem. I am a very strong believer in the rule of law. And stopping protests is one thing. Killing is another. I don't believe in killing. Protesters can be dispersed using necessary force, which is allowed by law. As Deputy President, you are not in charge of security. The security architecture of this country. The President is the chairman of the National Security Council. Deputy President sits there as a member. All the security agencies, the IG, the DCI, the Director of National Intelligence Service, the Director of Military Intelligence, the service commanders in the Army, Air Force, and Navy are appointees of the President. And it is him who gives directions. The Deputy President can only intervene in security matters if given specific duties and instructions by the President. Those duties were never given to me at any one time. And I was a very great defender of the President in the first 1 year because I believed in him. And Raila and others felt that I was very strong, so they were in the habit of blaming me for anything that is going wrong. But going forward, as I've told you, when the AG came to complain to me, I told him to take up the matter with the President. And I monitored for him, and as soon as the President was back in the city, I told the AG, go and see him. He went and faced him, and his son was released. And from there, I went and told him this is wrong. So that by the time we were getting to June 25th, myself and the President were not on the same page in matters abductions and extrajudicial killings. And my public statement on June 26th in Mombasa is on record that I'm not opposing extrajudicial killings because I'm out of government. I opposed when I was Deputy President in office. And I was removed from office 4 months later. And this is one of the things that accelerated my removal. That is one of the things that made my relationship with the President very sore.
Okay, so during the same Maandamano of 2024, unfortunately, there are people who attacked former President Uhuru Kenyatta's farm, and there were accusations that you were involved in that. Was it true? And if not, then who would you say was in charge? Because the people accusing you are people you sat with.
It is not true because I never uttered anything to that effect. If you check, internet does not forget. The majority leader in the National Assembly, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, told Uhuru Kenyatta, is on video, that kama wewe hapana simamisha kutoa pesa ya kupanga maandamano, tutavamia hiyo mashamba yako na tuyachukue. 3 weeks down the later, mashamba ikavamiwa. Where do you blame Rigathi Gachagua? Did Rigathi Gachagua make any such utterance? I didn't. I am a very responsible leader, and I am a protector of property. I don't destroy property because I look for property. I'm a builder. I believe in building. I don't believe in destruction. Uhuru Kenyatta was president of the Republic of Kenya. He retired. And once our politics were over, I let him be. And I never attacked him. In fact, I went ahead to apologize to him for utterances that I made during the campaign period, because I found those utterances to a great extent were necessary and were too offensive. And since the campaign period was over, I did what a responsible leader does, and an elder for that matter. Uhuru Kenyatta is a senior elder in my community. I'm a junior elder in the community. And I felt that I had uttered words that were injurious to him and quite, disturbing to him and his family. And I offered a public apology. When I was deputy president, I did not do it when I left office. I could not plan or have any reason whatsoever to attack the farms of President Uhuru Kenyatta. But Kimani Ichung'wa is on record threatening to invade the farms of President Uhuru Kenyatta. And 3 weeks after, in fact, that accusation he made at Kenyaga High School, where I had invited him as an old boy, that is where he uttered the threats. And 3 weeks later, the farms were attacked. Kimani Ichung'wa is very close to President William Ruto. So your guess is as good as mine as to who could have authorized for the attack on the farm of President Uhuru Kenyatta.
So are you guys in good terms with former president? Because earlier in the week, we also saw the deputy party leader of his party, Jubilee, coming to see you. And is there a handshake that's coming between you and the former president?
Uhuru Kenyatta and I are brothers. He's my older brother. For your information, I served as personal assistant of President Uhuru Kenyatta for 7 years. I believed in him and his leadership long before other Kenyans believed in his leadership. We have been brothers. He has come to this home. I've been to his home. Our children are friends. Me and President Kenyatta are brothers. But along the way in politics, when I decided to support William Ruto against his wish, we differed politically. And it was very acrimonious, as it goes in politics. But after we won and Raila Odinga lost, that was over. It is me who made the first step. I took it. I took the very courageous step to apologize to President Uhuru Kenyatta for whatever I could have said that offended him. And it was forgiven. And I have no issue with President Uhuru Kenyatta. In fact, I'm shocked people keep on saying that we need to do a handshake with President Uhuru Kenyatta. Handshake for what? We are brothers. We are easy. And the issue of family, you cannot keep on asking, are you in good books with your brother? We are brothers. And we have had a long political history. And today, Uhuru Kenyatta is retired. I'm his greatest defender. If you have followed our news, anytime he is attacked, I defend him because I believe he is a Kenyan statesman who did 10 good years, served his country well with the dedication. He has taken retirement, and I am of the opinion that we need to let him retire in peace and enjoy his retirement with his children and his grandchildren. That's what I sincerely believe.
Sorry, I have to take you back. There's something I had to check very fast. When you talk of JB Mturi's son being abducted, you said he came to you, JB Mturi. Why didn't he go to Ruto?
I'm saying JB Mturi did the right thing. He first talked to the DCI.
Yes.
He took him in circles. He talked to the IG. He took him in circles. He talked to the DG NIS. He took him in circles.
Yes.
He talked to the PS. He took him in circles. He talked to Kindiki. So he was just following the chain of command. Then he came to me. Because that's normally the way you do these things. You don't just go to the president directly. You talk to the people who work for him. And he came to me as deputy president to tell me his concern. And when I listened to what he was saying, and being private to what was going on, because I had known a squad had been formed, I told him the buck stops with the president because he's the one who authorized the formation of that union. So I said, face the guy head on. And when he faced him head on, sure as December 25 is Christmas, the president made one call because he knew whom to call. He called the DGNIS, and Muturi's son was released. So
Okay,
I gave
I
Muturi
think
the best advice.
I think I'd misunderstood you because it's like you'd said you told him you'd tell him when Ruto is back because I was checking that and I saw Ruto.
No, Ruto was out of town.
No, this one says Ruto was in Kenya when the
No,
the
out of town. I said out of town. I didn't say out of the country. He was out of town.
Yeah.
He was not in Nairobi. He had gone to some place up country. And my security and Ruto's security is one. They are one of the presidential escort. So I'm quite aware of his movement. So I told him I'll monitor. As soon as he comes back, I'll let you know. So I told my security, let me know when the president is headed to State House. So when he took off from where he was, my people told me he has taken off. He'll take 35 minutes. So I called JB. I said, in 40 minutes, be at State House. He'll be there. And he went and found him.
Because another thing that's been said is if you had to look at what's his name, Ruto used to have, and I've heard some of your political partners right now talk about his anger issues, where he was angry at some point, threatened to slap Uhuru. But also for you, the stories that we had were when the rift started happening between you and him, you'd bang his table and you'd be disrespectful. Understand? So there was the story of you'd be disrespectful. I think the figure was you wanted 4,000 shillings for every voter from the mountain. And you demanded that. And that's how, and then you have, like, when I spoke with Itumbi, and Itumbi was saying that you are petty. Like, you even used to fight with them as junior staff.
I don't discuss Itumbi. That's a very junior blogger.
Yes, but I'm just saying.
I cannot discuss Itumbi.
Yes.
I think it's disrespectful to even ask me to discuss Itumbi.
But no, he's the one.
My friend, I'm a presidential candidate.
Yes.
I can only talk about William Ruto, my competitor.
Okay.
I think it is not appropriate to ask me to talk about State House
okay,
bloggers.
let's talk about Itumbi. No, let's talk about Ruto. So with that, do you feel like if you went to him and demanded things based on you having given him votes, don't you feel that was disrespectful? And that's the reason why
I don't think to start with.
He needed to get rid of you. And also the fact that, you remember you're saying that you felt like he always wanted to get rid of you. So there must have been something he didn't like about you.
Well, to start with, it's a lie.
Yeah.
I did not ask him for any money. And if I did, it should have been one of the grounds of my impeachment. It wasn't, because it's not true. It's just a lie. The guy is a liar. He has given so many reasons why he got rid of me, depending on where he is. When he goes to Nyanza, he says I was demanding shares for the mountain to the exclusion of the Luo nation. Okay? When he goes to Western, he says I was opposing development for the Luyas to the benefit of the mountain. When he comes to the mountain, he says I was demanding money from him. That is why he got rid of me. He has so many different reasons that he keeps on giving. And if those reasons were true, I believe they would have been among the charges in the impeachment. They were not. Yeah? Nobody demanded a cent from him, and I had no reason to demand a cent from him. I disagreed with him on matters of principle. And it was extrajudicial killings, abductions, theft of public resources, tribalism, nepotism, running a one-man show government and not giving anybody else a chance to contribute to the management of the affairs of the country. Yet you are elected. You know me, I was not an appointee like Ndiki. I was elected by the people. I was not his employee. And he's not the one who gave me the job. He proposed my name and the people of the Kenya gave me the job. I had a responsibility to the people of Kenya. And I found we are losing it. And today, my friend, William Ruto was elected on a very popular platform. 3 years down the line, everybody is saying he must go. And that is the issue I was raising with him. How come that we came in on a popular mandate? Everybody is baying for our blood. Let us retrace our steps. Let us listen to the people.
But the tribalism part, he's always used it against you, even like with some of the speeches he was having.
Yeah.
But you see how that he can... You remember there was a clip also of Methu, where Methu was saying, angalia jina, ukiona Kipruto, uneka tik. Ukiona Mwangi, uneka tik. Ukiona Onyango, hey. Then he was saying, and then you talked about shareholders. So don't you feel like if we were to talk about one person who was tribal, we can't put that on Ruto. We'd have to put it on you because you're the one who talked
it's
about
nothing like
shareholders.
Let me tell you, my brother, it's nothing like tribalism in coalition building. Ruto was a product of the Rift Valley and the mountain. People of Northeastern rejected him. People of Coast rejected him. People of Western Kenya rejected him. People of Nyanza rejected him. People of Nairobi rejected him. He was elected by the people from the Rift Valley and the mountain. And therefore, we had an agreement on how we'll share government. And when he started shortchanging me, I was saying, no, give me what rightly belongs to me and my people, because we had an agreement. He had a shareholding agreement with the people of Western Kenya. And he did not honor, because they also did not honor. They had promised to give him 70% of their votes. And in return, he had promised so many things. So when they did not honor, he refused to honor. But on my part, we honored what we had agreed. He had asked for 70% of our vote. He got 87%. So I was entitled to get what we had agreed.
What did you want specifically?
No, we had agreed many things. Positions, guaranteed minimum return for our cash crops, coffee, tea, and milk. We had agreed the completion of Mau roads. We had agreed on construction of 18 dams in the mountain. We had agreed that the people from the mountain will not be sacked, even those appointed by Uhuru Kenyatta, and where he felt uncomfortable with those who had been picked by Uhuru Kenyatta, we will change them one for one. And that's what we did in Meru. When he said he doesn't want Kinoti, we exchanged with the Kome. And it was like that until the second year, he started backtracking on those agreements. And then I started fighting.
So do you think that is fair for other people in the country? Because I understand it's a coalition, but in a country where we have 44 tribes, is that a fair way of doing politics?
You know, my dear Sarah, politics is a game of interest.
That's true.
Today, ODM are demanding 50% of government. And nobody is calling them tribal. Nobody is saying that they want to shares. Those ODM characters are the ones who removed me from office. And the accusation is that I am preaching the gospel of shareholding. Today, they are the most loudest and noisiest that they're asking for 50%. Is it fair?
Okay,
That's what they're asking. Because they are saying, William Ruto, if you want the votes from ODM, this is irreducible minimum. We want 50% shares of your government. We want the deputy president. Take it or leave it. And they are doing it because they are the only ones who want to back Ruto. Everybody else has left. So they are in a very strong position to demand as much as they can. And that is what happened to us in 2022. Nobody else wanted Ruto except the mountain. So we said, fine, since we are the only guys who want you, what are you giving us in return? And we agreed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Initially he gave us, then he started slowly backtracking. And then we had a fight because I was a custodian on the mountain interest. The people of the mountain trusted me to be their custodian.
I want us to move this conversation forward. Just understanding the way Kenyan politics works, I would want to know, why do you want to be president? And why should the Kenyan people trust you?
Well, I think I want to be president because I've got great ideas on how we can make this country great. I have experience. I served as deputy president for 2 years. And I have first-hand experience on how Ruto lost it. I know what needs to be done. One, you must listen to the people. You must govern people the way they want to be governed, because essentially a president is an employee. And ordinarily, an employee listens to the employer. So the Kenyan people are the employers. So continuously, you must engage them and listen to what they want. Number two, the people of Kenya do not want corruption. I am persuaded that to deal with the corruption in this country, it must start from the top. You must have a president who cannot entertain corruption. Once the president says no to corruption, corruption will just end.
How are you planning to do that?
Just by myself saying no to corruption. It's the only thing you need to do, by the way. Once the president says no to corruption, I don't want corruption in this country. And it starts with me as president. I will not get involved in corrupt activities. That's the end of the corruption. That's the formula of finishing corruption in this country. But once the president has dipped his fingers into the public purse, he opens the door for everybody, and he can never stop anybody. Once you call PSs and ministers to give contracts to your cronies, the remaining jobs after they give you your cronies, they give their cronies. If you take money, the way money has been stolen, 10 billion, through e-citizen. And I told people, e-citizen has been captured by William Ruto. Today, you saw the papers, the Auditor General is saying, 10 billion has been stolen. So if 10 billion has been stolen from the top, what stopped the small people also from stealing 1 million, 2 million? The way to deal with corruption in this country, the president must say no to corruption. Today, Rigathi Gachagua left office. Nobody can accuse him of any corrupt activity that he has been involved in this country, because I never got myself involved in corruption. And I'm a very proud leader. And you know the kind of viciousness William Ruto has against me. If I had stolen a shilling, it will be everywhere. I will be in court today.
So you didn't steal nothing?
Nothing. And if I did, I am telling you, I will be in court. It will be news everywhere. That is why they have to look for other nonsense to say that I have stolen from the family. I don't know you have stolen from where. The president should be concerned if I have stolen from the public, because he's a public figure and his work is to look after public funds. not to superintend families, not to superintend private hospitals like Nairobi Hospital. That is not his business. He should get concerned about the failures in Kenyatta National Hospital. There are no blood banks. The cancer machine is not working. There is no food for the patients. There are no reagents in the laboratory. There is nothing. Then he is saying he is a patron of Nairobi Hospital, a private hospital that is doing well. Who is the patron of Kenyatta National Hospital? He is the one because it's a public hospital and he is elected by the people of Kenya.
We will talk. We were planning to talk about that when you're talking about health. But since we were talking about your presidency, you see, every time you utter and you say things like the people of the mountain, it's about interest, it's about what? Do you know that you alienate a very huge chunk of the country? Because the country thinks you ended up with the second highest office in the country. And when you're in the second highest office in the country, you are basically a heartbeat away from the presidency. It means that at that point, your interest should never be about a community, should never be about a region, should always be about Kenya. Do you understand that? Like the concept of Kenya as a country, where it does not matter if you're Luo, Kikuyu, what? Like right now, if you look at this room, there are a lot of different tribes.
I know.
And when those tribes hear you talking about the mountain being betrayed, they're like, no, we want to hear someone talk about Kenya being betrayed. Because even Kenya has been betrayed. Corruption is still there. The hospitals are not, they don't have medicine. Budgets are inflated everywhere. So when can we hear Rigathi Gachagua talk about Kenya
for Kenya
without the mount? Because you see, the mount is always there.
No,
and that's where the problem
it's only
comes.
you ask me about the mountain because you are in the mountain.
Yes.
Ask me about Kenya. Every day. Every day.
That's what,
every day, my brother.
Yes.
E-citizen have talked about it for a long time.
Yes,
it does not affect the mountain people. It affects the whole country. When I talk about tea, I was in charge of tea reforms. Tea is not just in the mountain, it's in the whole country. When I talk about dealings with RSF, a rebel group from Sudan, that has affected our image as a country, I'm talking about Kenya. When I was fighting drug and substance abuse, I held meetings in Mombasa. I held meetings in Kericho. I held meetings in Meru. I held meetings in Nairobi. It was for the whole country. I served the people of Kenya. And even in my politics today,
yes,
I am talking about Kenya.
Which I don't dispute. You see, right now, you remember there was the campaign, Kufa Dereva Kufa Makanga, around the time when you're being impeached, where people are saying that if we have to impeach you, then we have to impeach the president. Why people are saying that? Because they felt like the pair of you had failed the country. At that point, we didn't see Gachagua as the savior. After you left, sasa when moja wetu. So of course, sasa tuko, hey, you are our savior. But you see, during all that time, tukikusikiza, it was always about the mountain has been betrayed. It's never been Kenya.
We were just complaining politically.
Kenya has been betrayed.
We were just complaining politically.
Yes.
And I have told you the mountain has been betrayed. Kenya too has been betrayed.
And that's what we want to hear.
No,
Kenya, how has Kenya been betrayed?
Kenya has been betrayed. One, William Ruto promised to put money into people's pockets. Instead, he dipped his hand in their pocket. And the little they had, he took it away through unreasonable taxation. And the money that have been taken from people has not been used prudently for the purpose for which it was collected. That is the money that is being used to bribe people in State House, to bribe people in meetings. I've been talking about it. When I have talked about the sale of national assets, Bomas of Kenya, Kenya Pipeline, those are not in the mountain. Those are national institutions. And I've talked about it. I've talked about them. And when I say SHA is not working, SHA is not working, not just in the mountain. It's not working anywhere, including Bomet and Kericho, where Ruto comes from. I have been talking about it. I was in Bomet the other day, and I talked to the people of Bomet, and I told them they are suffering just like other Kenyans are suffering. 2 days ago, I had a radio talk show called Ramogi with the people of Nyanza. And presenters there were refusing to allow me to talk about the issues that affect the people of Nyanza. They wanted to discuss Rigathi Gachagua as a person. And I was pleading with them to allow me speak about issues that affect the people of Nyanza region. I have been very clear in my mind that Kenya is bigger than all of us, and I talk for the people of Kenya. I want to be the president of Kenya. I don't want to be the president on the mountain. There is no such position. But I come from somewhere. And those people, like other Kenyans, deserve somebody to talk for them, just like I talk for other regions. But I want to confirm that my agitation, my politics, is in the defense of the Kenyan people, the sovereignty of our country, our image as a country, our territorial integrity, the dignity of the payslip. I have been very vocal that the payslip has been eroded. All workers in public and private sectors have no purchasing power. They have been, more than 40% of their salary have been deducted through taxes that are being used to do politics and extravagance in State House. When Uhuru Kenyatta was president, the budget of State House was 4.5 billion. William Ruto has taken it from 4.5 billion to 17 billion. And that money is for lagis, is for luxury, and for blaming people who come to State House. These are Kenyan issues. I don't think they are issues of the mountain.
Okay. One of the biggest problems the country faces, as he was asking how we've been betrayed as a country, I feel is in the issue of debt. And today, Kenya's debt stands at 12.3 trillion. You want to be president. How would you deal with Kenya's debt?
Well, admittedly, we have to carry over the public debt because it was incurred. Whether through the right decisions or not, is a debt we have to pay. And there is no we can default. We have to pay the debt. But we must make sure that we stop borrowing more unnecessarily by doing what is necessary. For example, the work of a government is to offer services. We don't want governments building houses for people. Those are private matters. You build a house, 1 room, 2 room, 3 bedroom, depending on your need and your capacity to build. What the government should do is build roads, provide water, provide electricity, provide sewage, drainage, provide security. Mwai Kibaki, the greatest president of our time, never did housing as a government program. He never spent government funds to do housing. But the man who did the housing that we enjoy in Nairobi today is Mwai Kibaki. How did he do it? He didn't do it directly. He opened up the bypasses and put good roads, electricity, water, and sewage, and the houses came up on their own.
But the houses are not done with borrowing as it is, because that's our tax.
What happens?
So how would you deal with it?
What happens, why you have to borrow, is you look at your revenue and you decide the things you want to do in a budget. When the revenue is not enough to do the things you have decided to do, you have to borrow so that you get the deficit. So what you do, you stop unnecessary expenditure so that even if you have to borrow, you borrow very little. And the way to do things in this country, in my view, a responsible government should concentrate on education, healthcare, security, road network, clean water, electricity, and communication. The rest of the things, you leave them to the private sector. And an economy is very dynamic. Once you provide the services that are basic, that the people of Kenya require to be provided by their government, you let people do business. If you do remember, during the time of Mwai Kibaki, there was a lot of money available to the Kenyan people to do business. If you remember, if you went to Nairobi near a bank, there were many tents there in a mall, one by Standard Bank, one by Barclays, one by Equity, with some nice looking girls, well dressed, asking you, come, we want you to borrow. Banks were looking for people to lend money to do business. Today, the government is borrowing from the banks. And the banks would like to lend to the government because it's very safe, because there is no risk. So the government is competing with the private sector for whatever money is available for lending. We want the government to borrow less, especially domestic borrowing. Borrow less. Let the money market be available to the private sector. And these are the people who make the economy grow. And Mwai Kibaki perfected that because he was a great economist from the London School of Economics. He allowed the private sector to thrive. And there was less and less government in people's lives. Government's work was to provide infrastructure, security, and a good environment for business to thrive. Now, William Ruto has done housing by government. He has killed the private sector, and it's a huge sector, the real estate sector. Those fellows have now have no job to do. Everything is being done by government. And the government houses are being done to provide an opportunity for people in power to sell cement, to sell steel, to sell tiles to the people who are doing the affordable housing. Therefore, government has stifled the private sector. We must allow the private sector to thrive. That's the way to build a country and to build an economy.
I would just want to understand your plan of paying this debt, because you see, every time a new government comes in, the debt keeps accumulating, but the payment formula is never clear to us as citizens.
Agree.
So what policy do you have in place?
One, Sarah, you do the basic law of survival. When you are in a hole, the first thing you do, you stop digging. Then you figure out how to come out. But when you are in a hole, you cannot continue digging. The first thing you have to do is to stop that borrowing. And then you figure out how to pay what is outstanding. But if you find we have 12 point something outstanding trillion, and you are still borrowing more every day, you will never get out of the debt. So to start with, we stop unnecessary expenditure. Opulence. Avalanche. You have seen the deputy president has a budget of 450 million for helicopters to fly around the country. What for? You have seen State House has a budget for hospitality for 5 billion, for entertaining people who are coming for delegations. What for? Mwai Kibaki never held hosted delegation in State House.
But they would argue you didn't even stop it when you're in office also.
No, I'm just saying we were doing things the way the president wanted them to be done. In fact, he was accusing me of not hosting delegations. I had a very minimal budget myself for hospitality, 70 million only. I have seen the present guy is asking for 400 million for hospitality. President was accusing me of not hosting delegations. By the way, I never used to host delegations. I only used to have IBEC, where I would meet the governors. It's a constitutional duty that is in the office of the deputy president. I would meet farmers for tea, for coffee. My meetings were working meetings. I never held a single political delegation, like what Ruto and Kidiki are doing. They are having delegation from Meru, they are having delegation from Turkana, they are having delegation from Trans Nzoia to come and discuss politics. I want you to check, for the time I was in office, I never held a single political delegation. Anytime I needed to host a political delegation, they came here to Amonyoro, at my home, where I entertained them from my private savings, because this is my home. But I never, at the official residence, held a single official delegation for purposes of politics.
Okay, so before he comes in line with that, there was an issue about the DP's budget and the office of the wife's budget. And the Standard had a story where when you're in office, there's a time you needed 1.59 bill for office of the wife, second wife, which I think up to date goes on because there was a story the other day about it. Why do we need the office of the second wife as a country?
Well, one, we had a request of 1.5 billion. A request is a request, and that's what happens in budget. You ask for this, you are not given for what you have asked, you are given what is available. We are given 590 million. The office of the spouse of the deputy president, I found it there. I did not create it. It was there when Ruto was the deputy president for 10 years. So when we came, we found that office had been set up. And when we came with Pastor Dorcas, she identified a program to do. And I think it was a good program. I think the money was well spent. She came up with a program on fighting addiction, to drug abuse and rehabilitation. And through that program, a lot of lives were saved. Very many young boys were assisted. She came up with a program for PWD and for widows, wajane na mayatima. And I think it was a good program. Along the way, William Ruto removed that budget. That program died. Today, all the boys Mama Gachagua had rehabilitated, most of them are back into drinking. It was a good program. I don't think essentially there is anything wrong with having activities of a spouse of a social nature that is not anything the government can address on a daily basis. Things to do with humanity, things to do with empathy, you know, and you cannot say that those issues don't need to be addressed. The issue of the boy child, the issue of drug addiction is a serious issue. And if you are around in this country, you know it's a serious crisis. And many Kenyans miss mama boys because many people were afraid to talk about their children having drug addiction because of the stigma. But when Mama Gachagua started talking about it, even very senior people, you know, approached her to say, Mama, we have a problem here. We have been shy to acknowledge that our children are having a problem. And as we speak today, you know, the boy child is under siege. You know, our kids have very many mental challenges. You know the level of depression in this country. You know there have been very many suicides by our young people because of peer pressure, because of lack of jobs, because of economic challenges. Somehow, somebody must address those challenges. There must be some Kenyans somewhere who can address that challenge. The issue of kids out in the streets who have been taking hard drugs and they need a motherly attention, somebody must do it. And I'm very proud that when I was in office for 2 years, my spouse, Pastor Dorcas, you know, filled that gap. And Kenyans were very happy. She was the darling of the Kenyan people. And many people have been asking. Even now, we are doing it on a smaller scale. We don't have a government budget. We have some money for ourselves as individuals. We have many friends who support us. Even now, we want to do some fundraising to try to raise about 100 million for Pastor Dorcas to continue doing what she was doing with the boy child. Try to help those young people to see whether they can get back on their feet and they can live a life of their own.
Okay.
So I'll have to take you back to some of the criticisms that you give root on. You've just talked about it. Affordable housing, yes? You're talking about how this is just a scheme for Ruto to get rich. But if you go back in time, in 2023, you are quoted as telling people to ignore any naysayers when it comes to affordable housing.
Yes.
So you see, so you used to support it. Right now, you're outside, you're not supporting it. Even in 2024, just before the budget, before your impeachment and before the fallout became public, you are still supporting the finance bill 2024.
No,
and then
I was not.
If you were to skip, we'd still go back to, you just talked about the budget for Uhuru State House. You said the budget was?
4.5.
And what was your budget when you are deputy president?
I think about 4 billion.
You see, 4.57. You understand? So this shows that when you are in a public office, you don't care about the wastage. When you're outside, you see the wastage. You see, that's also is the problem we have with the present government, where before waingia, it's we are going to change this, we are going to change this as soon as you are inside. Because 4.57 for the deputy president's office.
And this, but you must know about that 4.5 billion.
This was for travel and hospitality was to be used, 1.8 billion was to be used on in something called the luxury budget. And this is something that I normally talk about. Like, we live in a third world country. We have Kenyans who, like right now as we talk, there's a Kenyan who slept hungry. How can the leaders have a luxury budget? You understand how it's such a slap in the face?
Let me
like, you know, like developed countries don't have luxury budgets.
Let me correct you. The budget for the office of the deputy president was in office was a wholesome budget. About 2 billion shillings was salaries for workers. And this is an office that has been set up with so many activities. We had coordination of international development partners, a very important program where you harness funds by the donors and unlock where there are challenges. That requires funding. We had funding for tea and coffee reforms, very, very important programs that are beneficial to the Kenyan farmers. We had a small budget for fighting alcoholism and drugs, you know. As far as I'm concerned, my hospitality budget was very little, if I can remember. My budget for traveling was quite little. In fact, for the longest, I tried to use military choppers that had no expense instead of hiring choppers. But I'm saying the State House budget, most of it is hospitality, you know, and that is where we have a problem. Most of it is hospitality. Most of it is travel, you know. And I want to correct you. I opposed the finance bill from day one. I never supported the finance bill. And even when I went out, And I advised MPs to listen to the ground, and they started fighting me. I say, my friend, this finance bill, before you commit yourself on the voting day in Parliament, listen to the ground, listen to the people. And I became very unpopular with the MPs because the president was coercing them to pass the finance bill. Only a fool does not change his mind. I'm not a fool. Life is dynamic. Life is not static. I want to tell you that President Ruto had convinced me and many other Kenyans that the housing program was a good thing, and it would create employment for very many young people, and it will settle people, you know, who have no housing. I was persuaded and I was defending it until it came to my knowledge, because I was part of government, that this was no longer the case. It was meant to collect money from Kenyan taxpayers so that there are enough houses to be built, so that we can create business opportunities for selling cement, steel, and tiles. Again, I have told you my leadership is informed by listening to the people. What we thought is a good program, the people are saying no. I went to the president, I said, these people here are building houses for what they don't want. They don't want to be taxed. They want to be left to build their own houses. They want us to build schools. They want us to pay money to teach us to teach them. They want us to build roads. They want us to give them clean water. They want electricity. They are not interested in housing. So it doesn't mean because I was supporting something, even if I realize it is bad, I support it to the head. I must change my mind when there are enough reasons and circumstances to persuade me otherwise. That's the nature of life. You cannot just stick to one position. If they are glaring circumstances and factors telling you that the stand you have been having is ill-informed, and these are the new facts, can you change your mind and give a different position? Yes. William Ruto himself, he had told us Raila is a problem of this country. Along the way, he changed his mind and he said he's a good guy. That's how dynamic life is.
Yes, I understand how life is dynamic, but I was just looking at that, like a lot of the things that you say you are against, we've learned about that after you left government. You see, like something like extrajudicial killings.
No, I spoke extrajudicial killing. I spoke when I was in government on the 26th of June. I would like you to Google. In Mombasa, as deputy president. I left office 4 months later. Yes. I spoke when I was in office.
Yes,
I condemned extrajudicial killing. I condemned the Director General of NIS. I condemned William Ruto when I was in office. I did not speak after I left office.
Yes.
I'd like you to check that.
Yes, but this was, when the same extrajudicial killings happened in 2023, you didn't talk about it. Understand?
Well, I told you, I was talking internally. I was deputy president. You don't fight with your boss publicly until you've come to the conclusion that it is not possible to correct him internally. I tried to correct him internally. So through persuasion, through reasoning,
yes,
until we reached a place now, it became too much. I needed to speak out.
You don't remember the videos that used to be posted on your Instagram, no, Twitter, where you are going very early in the office because of protests. You understand?
I was not going early because of protests. I was going early every day.
Yes, but those was being looked at as a mockery to the protesters, and a lot of protesters lost their lives around that time. But even if we were to move from that, the reason I was bringing up the protesters was to bring up the budget thing, where if we talk about wastage of public funds, and when I was looking at your budget here, the 4.57, part of it was to be used on furniture and cars, you understand? And when's the last time you changed this furniture? Why is government furniture always changed?
Well, I cannot, when I came to office, that the budget for that office had been cut for 5 years when Uhuru Kenyatta disagreed with William Ruto. There were no vehicles, or the vehicles were dilapidated, and we needed vehicles to move around the country, so we had to purchase new vehicles. That house and that office had not been renovated for 5 years. And if you don't renovate a house, it will crumble. Even these houses, we repair them every 2 years, because that's the nature of buildings. There must be maintenance of government buildings. Those offices had been neglected for 5 years. And when I came, I looked for a budget to have them renovated so that they are usable and they don't get wasted.
What was so bad that needed to be renovated?
Everything was bad.
Sorry to ask, but
the house was leaking. The toilets were broken. and there was no borehole. It was broken. There was no water. The water was being brought by tankers. It was in very bad state.
So should we also assume that it's the same case with State House? Because we've seen the budget go up, but there have been renovations
State House
happening.
has not been neglected because Uhuru was there and it was well maintained. Yeah, he denied William Ruto money for 5 years, which was also not right because he was deputy president. The office had been denied budget for 5 years. So really, it was in very bad state, and it was necessary to have it restored so that the office can function normally.
How big is that office that needs billions to renovate?
There are no billions. There's no billions.
Needed
it was
like
100 and something million.
But sasa tukiangalia hapa, these are the budgets we're seeing.
What is the budget?
Seeing like,
what is the budget for maintenance of office? It's 100 million.
Was it 100 million?
Yeah,
it's imeruka, but it's...
It is.
When we look at this...
No, let's be specific. Don't say it's billions. I believe it was 100 million.
Because what I know is you lost 1.8 billion for travel and hospitality. So you see, when we look at hospitality, we don't care if it's happening at State House or if it's happening in Wamunyoro. We look at the fact that it's coming from the
let's
taxpayer.
talk about maintenance of building because you are saying it's billions.
No.
It's just about 100 million.
Because here, I was looking at the budget. So your budget was 4.57 billion.
Yeah, but it is full of so many components, including salaries and allowances.
Let's go down. So this is brought back to 2.69 billion. So inclusive of salaries, how many employees did you have?
I can't remember.
You understand? And how much are they getting paid? Is each getting paid a million shillings? Because if we take 2.69 billion, if you have 1,000 employees, each would have to get around 2.69 million.
I don't think it is fair to ask me how many employees are there or how much they are paid because I don't have such details. As deputy president, you have people who work under you. You have the chief of staff. You have people in human resource. An office is established by the Public Service Commission.
Yes.
It is not you who decides what is the establishment. And I did not start that office. That was an office that was functional for the last 10 years. It was not a new office.
Yes.
I found it going on, and employees there, and were being paid before I came to office. They were being paid when I'm in office. And those are salaries that are not coming to me. The only thing you can ask me is my own salary, which is about 1 million shillings. The rest of the salaries go to other people. And they are public servants. And even when I left, they are still there.
Yes.
Yeah, they're still there.
I've Googled, and it's 542 employees. And this is the things we'd have to ask, like, why do you need this amount of employees? And if they are taking up a salary that goes into billions, don't you see there's a certain level of incompetence that comes with that?
I think you are a bit unreasonable in the sense that you must know every office has a structure and an establishment that is approved by the Public Service Commission. That establishment is informed by the activities in that office. The office of the Deputy President has very many activities. And if there are 500 employees, somebody must have sat down and decided that that's the right establishment. That decision is not made by the Deputy President. That decision is made by the Public Service Commission.
But
so you cannot ask the person who was in that office why there are 500 employees because that is not his decision.
Let me align it.
Ya mwisho, Pole. I'm asking you that because when you left office, you left with 108 people. What are 108 people advising you about? So these were like your advisors and officials.
No,
it's too much.
They were not 100. If they were 108.
That's how it was reported in the media.
Yeah, they sacked even the gardeners and the watchmen and the cooks and everybody who was there, who came when I was there, which was very unfair.
Street and senior
because
officers.
Then those are not PSC employees, of course.
No, they are PSC employees, but they were on contract, and the contract was tied to my contract. Okay? What happens is that when you come in, there are certain cadres that are tied to your contract. So when mine left, they were exited and others were brought in, which was very unfair. These gardeners, if you needed to punish Rigathi Gachagua, there was no need to punish the people who sweep around the compound. There is no need to punish the people who make tea, the people who are in communication, photographers, videographers. Those are the people who are sacked with me.
Because here it's written it's advisors and senior officers.
No. Advisors were very few.
How many?
I wouldn't know how many there were, but very few.
Yeah.
Extremely few. The back of the people was communication and subordinate staff. People who are looking after the compound. It's a huge compound, almost 25 acres. People who are there. People who are cleaning cars, drivers, cooks, people who are in hospitality.
But why would those people have been employed by you directly? Because those ones should come with the office.
By the office.
But how can they be fired?
No, that is a law. That is a law. At a certain position when you come in, there are certain cadre that you are allowed to recruit in your tenure.
Okay.
And you see what happened. You see the previous law held when the ones who are there, their contract was tied to the tenure of William Ruto. So when he left, they left. Those jobs needed to be done.
So even the gardeners left, or Ruto?
They did.
Okay.
Their contracts expired.
Okay. You see when Africa is raising such things, these are the things that are making the larger part of the population of Kenya very angry, because it's a population of the young people. But then instead of creating spaces where we develop a country, we just have a replication of, roles, perhaps. The bigger question would be then, you want to lead this country, how different would you do it, and how would you deal with this youth bulge? Because you have a big population of about 70% who are young people and jobless.
Now I think we are talking. I think now we are living nitty-gritties that are really, in my view, not very necessary. What do we do with our young population? That's the crux of the matter. It's actually a national crisis. And I have been with some young people who came to see me yesterday, content creators. We've been together, we spent the whole night together, just asking ourselves, what do we do with the youth question? The people who are graduating every day to the job market, it's about 1 million people. And there is no absorption capacity. And I am saying that from where I sit, my first priority as president is to sit down with my people to come up with a very clear program on how to create job opportunities. And one of the ways is import substitution, so that we stop importing everything from China, from Japan, from where, and create factories here so that we can create employment. And once you create employment here, you also automatically enlarge the tax bracket, because those people who are employed, they start paying pay as you earn, and that will help, the Kenya Revenue Authority to get revenue for development. So we must look at ways of how to stop importing things and try to impress upon foreigners, instead of us importing steel from China, to come and create a factory here to produce steel, so that the people who own that factory can employ our young people to work there. The agro-processing, value addition. There are very many great opportunities in this country where we can create employment for our young population. Again, we must look at issues of financial inclusion. Not everybody must get a white-collar job. Our young people are very innovative and they are very creative. I've just been talking to them. What we need to come up with is a very good program on how we can provide affordable credit to our young people and train them on how to manage those funds, so that they can create jobs for themselves and for their brothers and sisters and their friends and their cousins. So as far as I'm concerned, the greatest challenge to any leader and to the 6th President of the Republic of Kenya is how to create more job opportunities. It is how to get our young population to become participants in the economic growth of this country. As it is today, they are just there at home, and that is why they are getting into problems. Through peer pressure, they get involved into alcoholism, into drug abuse. Others are committing suicide. Others are having depression. The new government must be very deliberate in trying to create opportunities for our young people, And I believe that those opportunities exist. It's only that there must be political goodwill. We must have a government that is willing to go out of its way to create opportunities for our young people. And this will be done through manufacturing, agro-processing, where we can start small cottage industries, even in the rural areas, where we can have a coffee popping machine, where we can have people packing tea, where we can have people packing avocado, where we just create opportunities through agro-processing and value addition for our crops, because Kenya is basically an agricultural country and there are very many opportunities. Again, is where the Juakali sector, we make sure that we are not having foreigners competing with our people. It cannot be. Today, when you go to Gekomba and Kamukunji, the Chinese have taken over our economy. They are bringing things and they are also hawking the same. Instead of bringing whatever they are bringing and sell to our people to hawk and create a business opportunity, they are actually doing the hawking themselves. But I'm of the opinion, to the extent possible, we have import substitution. Anything that we can manufacture in this country, instead of importing from China, we go there and have a conversation with the Chinese investors, give them tax holidays, give them economic incentives to come and start those factories here in Nairobi. Transfer the factory from Beijing to Nairobi or Mombasa. The same factory, instead of doing it there and giving work to the Chinese people, bring the factory here in Nairobi and they can employ the people of Kenya. That is what I would be pursuing, and I'm persuaded that within 5 years, we would make remarkable progress and absorb a huge population of our young people into gainful employment.
Okay,
see,
sorry,
we've
let
had
me
these
just
promises
finish
before,
this. Before we go to the promises, the question would be, you are making this decision for the young people as the older generation, and you're saying you've been talking to the young people. What is the place of the young people in this decision-making such that they're not on the menu to be consumed, but they are the people coming up with the menu?
Absolutely. Last night, one of a guy I had, he's called Chris Kirubi. He interviewed me. We had more than 14,000 people watching the program. And he told me, Rigiji, we love you, we trust you. But believe you me, if you give you this job and you let us down, we will turn against you the way we have turned against Ruto. I am aware that these people cannot take promises. They want action. My very honest proposal to the young people, and I'm talking to them, we want them to be part of the decision-making process. We want them to come to the table so that we make these decisions together, so that when things go wrong, they don't pay for my blood. We hang together. I am saying that the administration that I want to lead, the young people will be part of the decision-making process. I want to bring young people to work with experienced people. I want to have a blend of experience and proven track record, working with youthful, energetic, innovative young people. A combination of the two is what this country needs. Experienced old hearts, people who have seen it, who can mentor young people, and then the young people have the energy to drive what has been agreed on. They are innovative, they are creative, they are knowledgeable, they have exposure. I am proposing a government that has a mixture of experienced, tested group of people working together with young, energetic, creative, young people. I don't think with a combination of the two we can get it wrong. I am persuaded we cannot get it wrong. If you come to my party, DCP, I've already started our model. Out of the national executive of 32 people, 17 are below the age of 35. DCP has become the party of the moment, courtesy of those young people. They challenge us with great ideas every day. I've told you since yesterday, I've spent 2 days with the young people. If you look at TikTok, you see the programs we are making with them. And I'm a better person than I was before I came to Nyeri yesterday. I have known many things I did not know. Courtesy of engaging, listening, and taking seriously what the young people are saying. My administration will be made up of both. And the young people will be part of the decision-making process. They will be on the table, they will not be the menu. And they will drive the changes that we so desire. And I have told them very clearly that they must start by driving the change that we desire. And they have the capacity and the numbers. They are the majority in this country. They are incorruptible. They cannot be bribed by anybody. They are tribeless. And they have a determination and a zeal that has not been witnessed in this country since independence. I have told them their first job is to register as voters and come out and vote. I have told them in the process of voting for Rigathi Gachagua, they must also vote for themselves. They must run for the positions that are available. They must occupy the county assemblies. They are graduates. They can go there and make good laws for their counties. They must run for National Assembly positions. They must run for the Senate. You know, if really are not able to run for the governor, no problem. But at least the county assembly, the National Assembly and the Senate, we should have very youthful faces in the next dispensation. Again, in my administration, in the executive, I'll bring them in as principal secretaries, as ambassadors, as CEOs of state parastatals. And I can tell you, only a fool can ignore the young population. I must tell you, without an iota of doubt, listening to these young people, most of them know much more than I do. I have lived 61 years. I have listened to some people here 25 years, 26 years. I'm amazed by what they know. And I am that kind of leader who is not arrogant and who is not dismissive and who is not imposing, that I cannot buy advice by young people. I have two young boys, 30-something, early 30s. They are the ones who will tell me what to do in terms of running our businesses. They know much more than I do. They are more informed. They are more exposed. And I listen to them very keenly. And I gain a lot. I'm a better person by working with them. So I'm not dismissive. There are leaders who dismiss these young people, that they know nothing. I am telling you here today on air, most young people I've discussed with, I must admit they know much more than I do.
Yes, before we I even ask you about the promises that I wanted to ask you, can you say, you said like you learned a few things that the youth want that you didn't know before. So what did you learn yesterday? Like what stands out of everything you learned yesterday?
Well, the young people told me yesterday that never make difficult decisions in a hurry. Young people. I was opening my mouth listening to them. They said, if you decide you want to write a letter and dismiss a worker who has wronged you,
okay.
write the letter, but don't sign it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Sleep over it. If in the morning you still feel you should sack the worker, sign it. Okay. But they told me 9 out of 10 cases you not sign it, you have changed your mind.
Okay,
Those are young people telling me.
Okay, I thought it was like something political.
No.
So now, let's go back to the promises. I remember seeing Uhuru and standing next to stadiums. I remember Ruto telling us when he comes in, he's going to do 1, 2, 3 things. That's why you talked about I concentrate on the nitty-gritties. That's the reason, because I've had this conversation before. Like when I listen to you right now, I can take your speech and put Ruto in 2022 and I'll get the same thing, where we are going to create jobs, we are going to bring manufacturing, we are going to, but it never happens. Understand? So there's a lot of youth even right now listening to you and they're like, we've had this before. So do you understand there's that disconnect between the political class and the average Kenyan, where the promises just don't make sense?
So do I, because Ruto promised and never delivered, I cannot make a
Uhuru also promised and never delivered.
No, I'm saying,
you know the 5 stadiums?
I'm asking, the question is,
yes,
does it mean because Uhuru and Ruto promised and they didn't,
yes,
I shouldn't? I'm not Ruto, I'm not Uhuru, I'm Gachagua.
We need to, that's why we are concentrating on the nitty-gritties, because the nitty-gritties
I'm saying I cannot be condemned because of the failures of Uhuru Kenyatta or William Ruto, because I'm not Uhuru Kenyatta, I'm not William Ruto, I'm Rigathi Gachagua. I'll be judged on my own record.
Okay, what if, because for you to run for president, your case is dependent on the judiciary at the moment, right? What if the courts decide you can't run?
Well, let's cross the bridge when we get there. I don't believe in counting the chicks before they're hatched. Let's cross the bridge when we get there. That is a presupposition. I don't want to guess I'm a presidential candidate. I'm clear in my mind that I'm an innocent man. I have every confidence the courts will find me innocent of those charges, and I'll have my day in court. But I don't think I want to say what will happen if this happens or that doesn't happen. Let's cross the bridge when we get there.
So in line with that, of course, critics argue that the so-called united opposition may not get to 2027 together united.
That's William Ruto who says so.
He's one of them. There are many other critics.
Well, we also say he'll go nowhere, and he says he'll get somewhere. This is politics. People can say anything. That is what they were saying in 2002. They were saying the opposition then is useless, and they cannot agree on one candidate, and they'll crabble, they'll fight. Then they agreed on Mwai Kibaki. The rest is history. We are hopeful. We are determined. We'll stay united to the end, and we'll give one presidential candidate. Our opponents have every right to doubt. They have every right to belittle us. They have every right to say we are stupid. They have every right to say we have no Sarah. They have every right to say we are thieves. That is the nature of politics. But that does not distract us from our focus. We are focused. We are going for it. We know what we need to do. And the people of Kenya have told us, you must stay together. You must stay united. We are determined not to let the people of Kenya down.
Do you understand how that brings a problem where you go on stage, you accuse Ruto of being a thief, he goes on stage and he accuses you of being a thief. And if you go back to the 2024 protest, that was one of the things that the Gen Z were saying. They were saying that they need clean leaders, leaders with integrity. So if I was to ask you right now as Rigathi Gachagua, would you say you're a leader of integrity?
Yes, I am, because I've stolen nothing.
Wow,
You know us, when we say what Ruto has stolen, we say it. Today, in the papers, they have stolen 10 billion. Listen, wait a minute.
Yes.
We are saying 10 billion have been stolen from e-citizen.
Yes.
We are saying 50 billion shillings have been lost in SHA.
Yes.
We are saying Kenya Pipeline has been sold for a song. We are saying Safaricom is being sold for a song. These are real issues that we are raising.
Okay.
William Ruto says we are thieves. What have we stolen?
Okay, let's go step by step. By 2022, you had a case where 200 million shillings of yours had been frozen.
That case was dismissed.
No, that's why we're going step by step. So 200 million had been frozen. Then you went on a debate with Martha Karua. What did you say your net worth was?
I don't think I want to get into that because...
But you understand
No, I'm just saying, I don't think it is right. I don't think it is right.
If I don't ask...
I don't think it is right to talk about a case that was dismissed in court.
No. Can you let me... Nowadays, I think Gen Z says, let me land. So I want you to let me land. This is what I mean. My audience will, and I guess even her audience, will demand that we ask this because it's about integrity. So... the court case is happening, you're worth, you go and you debate Martha Karua. Do you remember what you said your net worth was?
I can't remember.
You say 800 million.
Yes.
And 200 million had been taken, so we guessed that by that time you had 600 million.
Yes.
But then around the same time you had a court case about a land next to JKIA.
Yes.
And you never mentioned that land.
Yes.
You understand? If I'm talking about my net worth and I have a case in court, if I mention the 200,000 shillings that's being held, I'll also mention the 1.5 billion piece of land. I can't say, nikiwa, like the way we speak in Sheng, I can't say, niko na thao mbili, na saa hiyo kuna mtu.
Well, the only difference...
Na thao yangu 10. You understand? So,
the only difference,
so
let me correct you.
It means you're worth 2.3 billion.
Let me correct you. There's a very big difference between what I own as a person and what is owned by companies. That is not by property. A limited liability company is a person on his own. That land is owned by a company. It's not my land. It's owned by a company. A company is a body corporate. So I talked about what I own as a person. Yeah, finished. And I am saying the laws of this country are very clear. You know, why do we have courts? We have courts to give justice. If somebody is accused of something and the court clears him, you cannot come 2 down, 3 down the other line to ask me about it.
No, I'm not even asking that. What I'm asking is, okay, if it's owned by a company, you have to be owning a part of the shares in that company.
When the law, you see the law of public disclosure of your wealth, you declare what you own as Rigathi Gachagua. This farm here called Karandi, this Wamunyoro here.
Yes.
The title deed belongs to Rigathi Gachagua. This house and this land is worth like 45 million. That I can always do a disclosure. I own. My Nairobi house is 150 million. It's my land.
Yes.
But what is owned by companies where other people are shareholders, that's not my wealth.
But you understand why the question of integrity is important. Do you agree on that? Question of integrity?
But I'm saying, in
Yes,
terms
yes.
of asking people what they own, you say what you own as a person.
Okay. Because with that in mind, you saw the headlines today?
About?
So the headline was, this was on Capital FM. Derito Gachagwa's family petitions Ruto seeking probe into alleged forged will, asset fraud and disinheritance of the late governor's estate by his brother. And I can see your brother is on this, so I know you are very close to your brother. But now there's this rumor that's going around, and it stayed there. It stayed since your impeachment. And the story is you disinherited your brother's family. So that's number one. None of your brother's family has ever come out to defend you. So it makes a very interesting situation. That's why, like last week when Ruto was talking about you, and then he talked about Eugene Wamalwa also disinheriting his brother's family, it brings up the question of integrity. You understand? Where if your brother can't trust you with his property and his family, how can we as Kenya trust you with our property? That's why I was telling you the question of integrity. Everything is interconnected. Yes?
My brother, we are in politics. And in politics, opponents say everything they want to say against their competitors. William Ruto is my competitor. William Ruto is not the patron of the Gachagua family. He's the president of the Republic of Kenya. He's supposed to look after public assets. 10 billion shillings have been stolen in his citizen. He's not talking about, wait a minute, let me talk. He's not talking about it. Okay? 50 billion shillings have been stolen in SHA. He's not talking about it. He's talking about Nairobi Hospital, which is a private hospital. Wait a minute.
This is not him. Yes.
Which is a private hospital.
Yes.
He is talking about the Gachagua family. Family matters are solved by families, not by the President of the Republic of Kenya. Family matters are sorted out in court in case they are there. The law of succession, my brother, it's not a matter for the President of Kenya to handle. The law of succession is handled by courts of law. If anybody is dissatisfied by what is happening in a succession implementation, you don't go to the President of Kenya, you go to court. That is the law, because the President of Kenya has no authority over families. Family law says the law of succession. The late Derito Gachagua died in the year 2017. He left a will. That will is studied at the Kenya School of Law as the most advanced will ever done in the Republic of Kenya that has taken care of everybody.
So you can get a copy of it?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
The late Gachagua left he wrote a will and gave his property to everybody. Not his wife or children alone. He gave his wife, 2 of them, and his children, 4 of them. He had other women in his life. He included them, 2 of them, and their children. He left a piece of his wealth to all his brothers and sisters, a total of 21 beneficiaries. He left a will and said all his properties should be sold and the proceeds distributed to the beneficiaries in a formula that he put down in his will. Some were getting 10%, others 5%, others 2%, others 3%. He left 3 executors, his lawyer, Joroge Regeru, his longtime friend, Mwai Mathenge, and Rigathi Gachagua, his brother, as executors, with instructions to sell all his properties, pay his debts, there were many, and the balance distribute to the 21 beneficiaries in accordance with the formula.
So you didn't change any part of the will?
Yes, listen. The succession law says once a will has been read to the beneficiaries, you go to court. We went to court, all of us, and before the judge in 2018, all of us told the judge that we have agreed to the contents of the will. Okay? The court adopted the will, okay, and allowed the executors to go ahead and execute it in accordance with the wishes of the deceased person. We embarked on that exercise as the executors and sold the properties, paid his debts, and distributed the balance to the beneficiaries in accordance with the wishes.
So
that happened in court 8 years ago. 8 years, nobody has ever spoken. All those beneficiaries have received the monies into their accounts and they never complained. William Ruto has decided to play politics with the Gachagua family. Met some of the family members yesterday and told them that he has the authority to recover most of the things that were sold and give them back to them. It is not possible. He's just lying to them. And it's okay. That matter was concluded in the court of law. Everybody was there before a judge. The records are there. And the judge asked each and every person by name, Rigathi Gachagua, do you agree? Yes. So and so, do you agree? Yes. The judge wrote it down and issued what you call a probate.
That was in
2018.
And that's public record?
Yes, public record. You know what is happening? Eh? William Ruto is playing politics. And because he wants to fight Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi Gachagua has stolen nothing from the Kenyan public. Rigathi Gachagua is clean man. So he thinks he can come and interfere with family matters. One, he's meddlesome. This is our family. He's not a member of our family. Number two, if there was a problem with the family estate, you go to court. You don't go to William Ruto. He's not a member of our family. He's also not the chief of this area. When you have a problem and you have no money to go to court, you go to the chief. If you have money, you go to court. This matter was concluded in court by consent. Nobody said no. And the records are there. Those 4 or 5 people he met yesterday, all of them have received money. When we sold Olive Garden, the ones for 10%, they got 50 million. The ones for 5% got 25 million. Everybody has gotten their own money. So this is politics. And it's unfortunate that when our country has so many problems, the president has abandoned his work to look after the country. He is now meddling in families. He's meddling in private institutions like Nairobi Hospital. He is meddling in my family thinking he's fighting Rigathi Gachagua. I want to tell my relatives to be careful. That William Ruto misused me. He's misusing them. And they'll be very embarrassed when these documents come out in court, into the public. Because they will be released. I've just talked to the family, our brother, my brother who is elder, the eldest one, he is very annoyed. And the other family, those are 4 beneficiaries. They are 21 beneficiaries. My brothers, my sisters. They have tried to reach them out to give them money to spoil my name. They have said they cannot. Blood is thicker than water. But a few family members have been conned by William Ruto. And I really sympathize with them because, one, I know they are having challenges, which is normal. I hear one of my niece has been promised a position in the board so that they can complain against, which is okay. If she can get something to eat, that's okay. I hear one of the ladies have been promised some business opportunities. I hear they were also given some little money, which is okay because I don't have money to give them. But I want to say the issue of the late Gachagua was concluded. The estate has been distributed. It's over. It's a closed matter. There's nothing remaining. Everything has been sold. Everybody has been given money. All of them have received. Nobody has ever complained. It is now 9 years since he died. Why has this matter all of a sudden come out? And it is William Ruto who is talking about it. He's not a member of our family. And that is not his work. His work is to look after Kenya. If there is a problem within any family in Kenya, families have a way they sort out their disputes. And there is none in my family. He's the one who is meddling in our family. He's the one who is trying to bribe people in my family to cause discord in my family. If you remember my sister, my brother, all prominent families have been fighting in court for years. The Gachagua family has never fought in court. His will was the best. He made sure he took care of everybody. My late mother, she was alive, he left her 5%. Rigathi Gachagua, he left me 5%. His 2 wives, 5%. His other women he had, he left their children their property. His brothers, his sisters, there is nobody who has ever complained. And you have never seen our issues in the newspapers. Anytime you have heard about the Gachagua, it is from the politicians, not from the family members. And when now they realize that that is not happening, yesterday the member of parliament here called Wamombi, he took them to State House at 6:30 in a white Pajero owned by Susan Derito, one of my niece. And there the Ruto cheated them. They told them to sign some letters. Those are the letters that are circulating. I don't care. It's really nothing. It's hot air, it's politics. We'll dismantle it when my brother turns up and we meet as a family. We'll ask our lawyer to write back to the president and tell him to keep off our family. You are not part of our family.
How many nephews and nieces do you have from Derito?
I think 4.
4. So it's the 4 that have complained?
Yeah, I think so. But we have other beneficiaries. We have other children from Derito. We have his brothers. We have his sisters. We have everybody.
Since you've talked about the percentages, what percent were they getting that they feel dissatisfied? Because you see,
well, that is their father.
It was their fathers.
You know, if they wanted to challenge the will, they should have challenged it then. They didn't. And they were given the opportunity in court before a judge. The judge asked, so-and-so, are you satisfied? Yes. So-and-so, are you satisfied? Yes. They should shut up and shut up forever. Or if they want to go to court, they go back to court. The window for appeal is over. Number 2, they did not dispute at that time. The matter is closed. They are just playing politics.
But in 2024, it was not closed. You remember it started?
No, I'm saying there were just accusations on politicians. The matter was closed a long time ago. All the properties were sold to third parties. And the money was distributed to them and they received the money.
So
and
this
the
is
documents
politics.
are there. Yeah.
So you're saying it's
politics is nonsense. It's William Ruto trying to meddle with my family because he has tried to fight me and it's not working. I'm a popular leader and Kenyans trust me. He wants to destroy my character and my integrity so that Kenyans stop listening to me. He has sent DCI to try to look for crime I've committed in Kenya. There is nothing.
Okay. There's also
he has now gone to the family, to tell the family, you come here, we can help you. All the things that were sold by the estate, you recover. Before anything was sold, there were meetings with the family, there are minutes. Everybody was in agreement and nobody has ever had a problem. And all these children, all these wives have received the money and they have used it. And they were in court before a judge in 2018, called Achode, and all of them were there. It was recorded and a probate was issued and we were given the go-ahead to execute the will that was left by Gachagua. And the instructions were clear. Sell everything. I don't want to give anything to anybody. Sell everything. Pay my debts. The balance, distribute to the beneficiaries in accordance with the will. 10%. 5, 4, 3, 1.
Okay.
That was his wish.
So the other scandal that has kept coming actually was in last month. Yes, the president had a tour in Northeastern, and when you asked for accountability, there was a case where they kept saying that you're complaining because they're going to distribute relief food to the people on that side, and they kept saying that when you were DO, you had a scandal and you were sacked because you stole relief food.
But I'm asking you, my dear, I was a DO in. I left work in 2021. William Ruto picked me, 2001. He picked me to be his running mate. How many years later? 20. Yes. Didn't he know I had a case? He has only known I have a case now that I'm opposed to him. It's rubbish. It's nonsense. And criminal matters have no time limit. If I stole food, William Ruto can take me to court tomorrow. It's all nonsense. It's really a very desperate man, who is just spreading propaganda, And I have seen even him saying, some girls were impregnated, some girls were killed. They have been here trying to look for the relatives, we can give you 10 million, you say this, you say that. It's all nonsense. And I really don't want to bother with those things because those things have been said by bloggers opposed to me for the last 5 years. I'm very embarrassed when I see a president of a country picking content from bloggers and talking about it on top of a car. And a president of a country that is struggling, where people have been killed, people have been found in a mass grave, he's not addressing that issue. 43 people have been killed in a mass grave. He's not addressing that matter. The country has a debt of 12.9 trillion. He's not addressing that matter. He's addressing nonsense that he can get in top of a car to say that a cow of somebody died because of a tick. Just how petty can a president be? When the country is struggling so much with so many problems. You know, Kenyans are asking themselves, where did we go wrong? How can a president of a country be so petty, so reckless to handle personal issues of Kenyan citizens that are a result of rumors and gossip instead of handling the real issues that are affecting the people of this country?
You understand also the fact you say you left office in 2001 and he's bringing it up right now, 25 years later. Can you also understand him also can say that he was with you in 2022 and you never brought up Kiambaa, but lately you've brought up Kiambaa. You understand why it's the same sort of argument where if he was good enough to be a running mate.
Well, the only difference, the matter of Kiambaa is of public interest. He is bringing things that are of a personal nature. He is the president of the Republic of Kenya. Listen, my friend. But he is the president of the Republic of Kenya. He has a responsibility to bring things that are of concern to the people of Kenya. Yeah, you know, personal things about a family. This one family. There are more than 20 million families in Kenya who are having challenges. Why is he not bringing their challenges?
Okay.
It is only because he has a personal vendetta with me, because he knows I'm going to run him out of office.
So let me ask you.
Replace him as president. So what is happening is he is on a mission to spoil my name, because Kenyans trust me. Kenyans are listening to me. But I can tell you Kenyans are also very intelligent. I have looked at the social media responses. He is being told, tell us about Kenya, and tell us about families.
And the same Kenyans are saying you could actually be working with President Ruto on the side.
To do what?
It's politics, as you said.
How could I be working with him on the side? I want to remove him from power. And he is resisting. And he is feeling the heat from me.
So if he approached you, would you work with President Ruto again?
I cannot work with William Ruto. He is wrong for this country. He is responsible for the hole we are in as a country. Mwai Kibaki left us a working free primary education program. He has ruined it. We had a good program for university financing, you know, help. He has ruined it. We had a working NHIF program. He has ruined it. He has abducted children. They have been killed. How can I work with such a man? I have no business.
But you see, you've said he has abducted children, he has killed them. Let's go back to Kiambaa. You wouldn't say that you didn't know about Kiambaa in 2007. He's always been the main suspect in quotes. And you worked with him.
Yes, we did.
You endorsed him.
We did.
You said this is the best guy to lead Kenya.
We did.
You can't then come back a few years later after you fought with him to say now Kiambaa is an issue.
Let me tell you why.
Let me finish my point. It means that you will tolerate anything as long as you're on the side of that person.
Not necessarily.
And as soon as you're on different sides, you'll be like, this is the worst guy.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I'm a Christian. Forgiveness is a very important aspect of our Christianity.
So you took back your forgiveness?
I'm saying, listen to me. I think it's fair you also let me speak.
Yes.
It's a very important aspect of our Christianity. I and my people, the Kikuyu nation, were feeling very bad about Kiambaa and the 2000 atrocities, whose Ruto was charged with the crimes against humanity. But Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta came together, forgave each other, and asked the two communities to forgive each other. And we said, we'll forgive, but we will not forget. And we said, let bygones be bygones. And we left it. And we believed, in all honesty, that William Ruto was a changed man. And anybody can change. You know, Saul can become Paul. And he was sweet-talking, and we were convinced he's a changed man, and he cannot go back to his ways. But the minute he got into office, abductions started and extrajudicial killings. Then it came to our knowledge that he had not changed. He's still the same man. So we started remembering the old things. Normally, that's how life works. If you forgive somebody over something that they did to you, and they say they'll never do it again, then they do something similar, you remember the old things that happened. That's how we talk about Kiambaa. And actually, what has brought about Kiambaa is not even the killing of the Gen Zs or the abductions. It's the attack on churches by goons and police. The attack of PCA Mweki by goons supervised by police, the attack of PCA Kariobangi by goons helped by police, the attack of ACK Wetima Church in Othaya by police. That is what reminded us that this is the same William Ruto who attacked women and children in church in Kiambaa. Actually, that is what brought back the memories of Kiambaa. It's something that we had wanted to forget. But the minute he started attacking churches, and we are saying he's the one because investigations have been done and he has stopped prosecution of those involved, despite the fact that they are known. So we are saying he's the one. It is the attacks of the churches around this area that have brought back the memories of Kiambaa. That is how we are talking about Kiambaa.
So it's not about the... So now, have you stopped forgiving him? And should the Kikuyu community stop forgiving him?
No, we
And
cannot.
are
We cannot forgive.
Are we going to go back to that where as long as we are working together, nimekuforgive, tukiacha work together? Because I'd have to go back to the speech. I always go back to the acceptance speech of Ruto. It was one of the most very interesting acceptance speech. And you were there. Remember, he talked about extrajudicial killings. And he said, as soon as we take over, these things are going to stop. That means that they used to happen before him. And you never blamed Uhuru for them. Understand? So now, why is it different with him? Why is it now these extrajudicial killings? Because like right now, you just said Uhuru is your brother. You can work together. You can what. But when you are coming back, even on the inauguration day, you also remember your speech. There are a few people who took it like it was a little bit disrespectful to Uhuru, if you remember that.
True.
So can you see why now it's hard for me to take your word 100% that...
Well, you don't have to take my words 100%. That's why we have a debate.
Yes.
You take what you think is right. What you think is not right, you don't have to take. You don't have to agree with me 100%.
Yes.
Ruto talked about extrajudicial killing, and I believed him. The minute he started doing it, I disagreed with him. That's the reason why we disagreed. Because I believed him. I believed he was sincere, like I was. I don't believe in that nonsense called extrajudicial killing. Kenya is a country of rule of law. If somebody has committed a crime, arrest him, take him to court, prosecute him, let the court mete out a sentence if he is guilty. But killing people without going through the legal process is unacceptable. And I've explained to you that is why I disagreed with him, and I cannot agree with him. And I also now know he is deceptive, so I cannot agree to anything he tells me anymore.
So how different, if you were to get in power, would you deal with the security sector in Kenya? Because it's a problem, especially with goons in political spaces.
Goonism is the legacy of William Ruto. Goons are part and parcel of the Kenya Police Service now.
Well, they've been there even before.
And we are saying, I am now persuaded that when Ruto sent our police officers to Haiti, we thought they are going to help the people of Haiti to deal with the criminal gangs. Little did we know that they were going there for benchmarking, to know how goons can run a country. The city of Nairobi is run by goons. Even when William Ruto is in town, there are goons in tow, robbing people when he can see. And nothing is done to them. The governor of Nairobi works with the goons. PS Raymond Omolo works with the goons. I have been attacked by goons more than 24 times, and none has been arrested. I want to say this. Kenya is a country of the rule of law. President Rigathi Gachagua would make sure that the rule of law is upheld in this country. And I will tell the Inspector General of Police that he must work with 5 documents only and nothing else. The Constitution of Kenya, 2010, the Criminal Procedure Code, Cap 75, the Penal Code, Cap 63, the Evidence Act, Cap 80, and the Police Standing Orders. That's all. And if the police follow those 5 documents, we'll have no problem. If anybody has committed a crime, why do you want to assassinate that person? Why do you want to abduct and kill that person without going through the judicial system? If anybody has committed any crime, that is in the Penal Code, arrest that person in accordance with the Criminal Procedure Code, Cap 75. Put that person before court. And using Cap 80, the Evidence Act, adduce evidence before a court of law. If the magistrate or the judge is so convinced beyond reasonable doubt that a criminal offense has been committed, The Penal Code provides sentences that are there in law. And that person will either be fined, go to prison for a certain period, or both. But let no police officer decide and be the police, the judge, and the executioner. It cannot happen. We must have separation. Police arrest you, DPP prosecute you, the judge makes the decision, the prison jails you. That's the way it works. But we are having people who want to be the police, the judge, and the executioner. It cannot happen.
And
It's
how,
against the law.
how independent would the judiciary be? And would you say that the judiciary has been independent under Ruto?
To a certain extent, the judges have really tried. And I must commend them, because you have seen many times Ruto has violated the Constitution and done many things against the Constitution, and the courts have said no. They have stopped it. And I really want to commend the judiciary. I know there are always attempts to twist the judiciary in a certain way, denying them funds, denying them cars, denying them security, intimidating the Chief Justice. But I want to appeal to the Kenyan judiciary to stay steadfast as the last line of defense for the Kenyan people. Let them uphold the Constitution and make sure the letter and the spirit of the Constitution is followed to the letter.
What is your take about the office of the DPP and how it operates?
I don't think they are fairly independent, because I have seen many attempts to prosecute people because of their political stand. I have seen a lot of governors. You saw the governor of Trans Nzoia was taken to court by the DPP, and the High Court has ruled as a violation of his constitutional right and have stopped the proceedings and said actually he should be paid. I have seen the DPP being muzzled by the executive to prosecute people for political reasons and to deny them their freedom to make political decisions. Especially our governors are under a lot of siege. Many governors would want to be in one term fear because the DPP has been used to intimidate them.
Because the reason I'm asking you about the independence of the judiciary is when Uhuru was president, a lot of people that ended up in Ruto's government were facing cases, yes? So you had your case. Aisha Jumwa had a case. I think hers was a murder case. And Linturi had an attempted rape case. All these cases got dropped as soon as Ruto became president.
Yes. Most of those cases.
That shows that it was not an independent
DPP
judiciary.
under Uhuru was not independent. The DPP under Ruto has not been independent. Why most of those cases were dropped is because they were political. In fact, in my case, the DCI saw an affidavit to say that they were pressurized to prosecute me without evidence. And that is how I was let off the hook.
So it was not because you had become the deputy president?
No, it is because they had filed a case against me without evidence and they were being pressurized. And they didn't like it. So the minute I came in, the people who was pressurized them had left. So they were free now to exercise their mind. The DCI saw an affidavit to say we had no evidence against these men. We want the cases to be dropped. And that was it.
So how would you say that a rape case was political? Because either someone was naked and someone walked in.
We cannot go into the merits or the demerits of a rape case because, my friend, let's not go that direction, because you can only say there is a rape case when it has been concluded.
There was an attempted.
An allegation is an allegation. What happens before a court of law? Everybody is innocent until proved guilty. You cannot say because it has been alleged that you raped somebody, you have raped somebody. It has to go through the rigors of prosecution and it has to be proved. In that matter, the case was never heard and then it was terminated. So you cannot say somebody had been raped because it has not been proven.
No, it was attempted rape.
Whatever it is attempted,
yes.
Even if it's attempted,
yes,
for it to become a crime, it has to be proven.
Yes. The reason why I was bringing it up was during Uhuru's time, when Ruto had a case for grabbing Muteshi's land, he went through the whole thing. It was step by step, until the case was concluded and Muteshi won. During Ruto's time, you are part of you are one of his friends. All his friends, the cases got dropped. Even Waluke, the guy who was in jail for corruption, I think he'd gotten 67 years. All those cases got dropped.
You don't know.
All those
Let me correct you. Let me correct you. No, it's also
that's
good.
Where I have a problem.
No, it's also not good to make a blanket statement that is not true. Weluke's case was not dropped. The Kenyan Constitution has mechanisms to address legal issues. Criminal matters, you are taken to a magistrate's court. You have a right of appeal at the High Court, at the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. Weluke was convicted by a magistrate. The sentence, he appealed before the High Court. The sentence was upheld by the High Court. He appealed before the Court of Appeal. The sentence was quashed by the Court of Appeal. That is a court of law that has quashed it. Nobody dropped it. The cases you are talking about were never had. And why they were never had is because they had no evidence. They just kept us in court. Because I was taken to court in 2020. Why was it not had for 2 years? The magistrate kept the prosecution kept us tomorrow, because they had nothing.
So there was no influence from
no, I'm saying if there was evidence against me, the matter should have been had in 2 years. Why was it not had in 2 years? Because we kept on going to court. The prosecution would ask for more time because they did not have evidence. They were even told to supply us with the evidence they have. They never supplied us with the evidence. So by the time we came in, the DCI was saying we were pressurized. We didn't have anything against these men. And then it was dropped.
So what I'm asking is, what's the probability a murder case is dropped, a rape case is dropped, a corruption case is dropped, a what is dropped, and all these are friends of Ruto?
I think I'm the wrong person for you to ask such a question.
All these are friends of Ruto.
No, I am saying,
by that time they're being brought to Ruto's friend.
I'm the wrong person to ask such questions because I don't think I'm competent to judge. You can only ask me about my own case. That one I'm competent because I know what happened. About other people, I think you're asking the wrong person.
No, I was just saying because the judiciary, like how independent is it and how independent would it be under you?
That one.
Under you, because you see,
I think that one.
You say Uhuru is your brother, but then you also say Uhuru used the judicial system to punish.
I am not defending his excesses. He's my brother, yes. The fact that he had excesses does not make him not my brother. I mean, I would be a very bad man to say he's not my brother because he had excesses. But he had excesses. His government used the criminal justice system to settle politics, and it was wrong. But that does not make him not my brother. But he's not president anymore. He's retired. Bygones be bygones. We are through. We're over that phase.
Okay. Yeah. Let's move to something that's very critical for this country, the health sector.
Yes.
When you came in, you're part of the government, so of course you were introducing SHA into the system. What vision was there for SHA, and why do you think at the moment there have been so many issues and challenges and even cases about corruption?
My sister Sarah, I must tell you very frankly that the migration from NHIF to SHA was not a good intention. It was done for corruption. What needed to be done? If you ask Geoffrey Mwangi was the CEO of NHIF before, and they had recommended that certain reforms be done in NHIF and it be upgraded to be compliant to take care of leaks and abuse. And a study was done, and that upgrading would have costed 800 million. And the system would have been perfect. But a decision was made to scrap it and bring a new system called SHA at a cost of 104 billion Kenya shillings for corruption. That money was stolen. That is why SHA was brought. SHA was not well thought out. And that's why it's not working. And you know it's not working.
Did you ever discuss it when you were deputy?
Well, the only problem, I must tell you very honestly, the Ruto government is a one-man show. He has a group of advisors. He discusses with them. They agree. They implement. Even ministers, the Minister of Health, heard about that SHA from Ruto. It's the ministry, but he's not involved. It is some experts sitting with Ruto who makes that decision. And most of these decisions are influenced by conflict of interest. SHA is not working. And I want to tell you today, because I want Kenyans to ask me, and everything I've said in this country has come to pass. SHA will collapse in 6 months and will be in a crisis of an unknown magnitude. It cannot work. We are collecting 4 billion. and paying 7 billion in a month. How can it work? There's no insurance that can work that way because it was not well thought out. It was a scheme to steal. 104 billion. That is what was being stolen. And then we got a system that is not working. And everybody in the country is saying it's not working. It's only Ruto, his ministers, and sycophants around him who say SHA is working. You people go around this country. It's not working. That's the truth. And because it was not well thought out, it was a scheme to steal money from the people of Kenya.
And at what point, because I remember it was announced that SHA payments were supposed to go through Sctnews Bank, yes? At that point, were you in government or out of government?
Well, Sctnews Bank was bought by William Ruto.
That's what I'm asking. Like, by the time it was announced, the payments had to go through Sctnews. Were you in government or after you'd left?
Yeah, I think I was in government.
If you knew that...
There's nothing I could do. I'm telling you, my brother, Africa, this government is a one-man show. I was the only man in that cabinet who could tell Ruto no, and that's why he had a problem with me. Because I would oppose many things that were not true, that were not right, that was not good for the country. So, since I left, everything has collapsed.
So when you went for cabinet meetings, what would happen? Because most people don't understand.
Many times, I would chair the cabinet committee. And we would interrogate our proposals and pass the ones that are good for the country and reject the ones that are not good for the country. Many times, when now we go to the main cabinet, most of the things we had rejected, he would overturn. Despite us having said it's wrong. Because at cabinet level, cabinet committee that I chaired, you interrogate properly and you take time, you call experts. It's a very rigorous exercise at the cabinet committee. The cabinet is a bit formal. The president is there, this one, Rigiji, mulipitisha hii sawa, hii sawa, hii kwa nini mkupitisha, hii, no, let's look at it, wacha tupitishe tu. Many times he would even approve things before they come to cabinet. He would give what you call executive approval, and cabinet would just adopt the decision without interrogating it. Most of those things and those decisions, like all the money for housing has gone to Sctnews Bank, that is owned by William Ruto. Money for SHA has gone to Sctnews Bank. The Nairobi County government has been forced to open accounts in Sctnews Bank, despite the fact that Sctnews Bank is a small bank. It's actually Tier 3. And the common practice has been that all government funds should go to Tier 1. Tier 1 is Equity, Cooperative Bank, ABSA, those big banks where government money cannot get lost. We lost a lot of money in the 80s when they had been invested in these small banks. So a policy decision was made that government funds should be banked and invested in Tier 1 banks. Sctnews Bank is Tier 3, but now, last year, it made a profit of 503 billion. Every month, they are making 21 million every month, And it is conflict of interest. The bank is owned by the president. So he has directed all government monies be put there. And even this money for housing is too much. It's just lying in the bank. The Ministry of Housing have no capacity to absorb those funds because the monies are being collected from Kenyans. And it's billions of shillings. But the Department of Housing has no capacity. Even when I was in office, I suggested that we put some of this money to the National Housing Corporation, which is a corporation has a proven track record of building houses and has a very well laid out infrastructural capacity to do houses. Ruto refused. The money is in the bank most of the time because he's earning interest. It is in his bank.
So how do you correct the health sector? Because this is something that is affecting literally almost all Kenyans.
I am afraid that by the time we take over, this country will be in trouble. Because if SHA collapses the way I envisage from the information that I have from insiders, in 6 months, what happens? For 1 year before we take office, we'll have a crisis in our hands. And I think we are going to put up a team to start thinking through what we shall do. But in my view, we need to go back to the old NHIF, restructure it to be in,